Hello and welcome to this playthrough of the Desperados pen and paper role-playing game. This video is sponsored by Desperados Free. For those of you who don't know what Desperados Free is, it's a video game for PC and Xbox and PS4, and this is a free pen and paper role-playing game based on it. And we'll be playing today Desperados Don't Forgive, which is the free one-shot adventure included in the core rulebook.
Is it true, Matt Jarvis? Do Desperados not forgive?
Well, as you asked, Michael Whelan, it is a reference to the, I'm quoting from the rulebook here, the superb spaghetti western movie, God Forgives, ... I Don't. So for those of you who are fans of God Forgives, I Don't, you may recognise some things in here. I've not seen that film, so they will not be from my side. I am Matt Jarvis. I am joined today by Michael Whelan, who you've already heard from, Alex Lowleys, and Alex Meehan. I will be GMing and taking our intrepid band of cowboys and gunpokes.
Idiots.
Gunpokes? Cowpokes. Gunslingers.
Gunpokes.
Into the Wild West of the 19th century. We'll be beginning this adventure riding on a train out of Omaha towards Sacramento. But let's catch up with the gang and introduce the characters who are riding on this train and how they may or may not know each other. Wills, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm playing a character called Three Finger Pete. He's a trapper, which basically means that he's kind of like a hunter. So he traps creatures and sells the furs and stuff like that. I think he's very much not comfortable with the fact that he's on a train. I don't think he really understands how they work. He probably stinks a little bit as well. He's definitely like a man of the wilds, not used to fancy town living. People think he's called Three Finger Pete because he has three fingers. It's not. It's just that's how much whiskey it takes to get him drunk. And that's it, yeah.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Alex Lowleys, who will you be playing?
I'm Dr. Herman Dickory, also known as Dr. Unk in the town that I come from. You'll figure it out. Once you figure it, you get it. I'm playing, obviously, a doctor. And I'm drunk all the time. I'm a drunk doctor. So I won't really know a lot of time what's going on, but I have a tendency of doing the right thing at the right moment, just out of luck, I guess. So that's me.
I mean, that's really the two key attributes you want in a doctor, don't you? Luck and drunkenness.
Well, there's a running theme so far. Alex Meehan, who are you playing, and are they also a heavy drinker from the sounds of things?
Are they incompetent?
Well, prepare yourselves. My name is Lady May. I'm a gambler, which means that I like to play fast and loose with the laws of the town, but also with the laws of people's hearts. My character is currently set there in the carriage, probably surrounded by a few gentlemen, and she's looking very aloof, but also wearing a mighty fancy outfit. And yeah, she's just basking in all the attention she's getting.
She's
right.
real
I
pretty.
I should mention that I'm asleep on the train. I'm snoring very loudly.
Oh yeah. Well, you will do if you add a bit to drink.
Rosy
And,
cheeks.
Three Finger Pete, what are you up to on this here train?
I'm literally just sort of I'm trying to take up as little room as possible, and just looking out the window every now and again and going, ooh.
In that case, can you roll for me? So I'll explain the rules briefly, how the rules of the Desperados pen and paper RPG work. So it is a 3d6 system. So the characters roll 3 6-sided dice. You'll get a total, and then you'll add to that one ability score from your 6. So there's brawn, ability, metal for physical traits, and then mental traits are insight, wit, and resolve. So it's a very simple system. You just add your ability score in one of those to the roll, and you see if you beat the difficulty score set by me, or in this case, sometimes the rulebook. So, as you're looking out of the window, Three Finger Pete, can you roll for me insight, please?
Oh, I'm good at that. Is this a perception roll? I have a skill in perception.
Yeah, so you have perception, so you can use insight to look out of the window.
Okay.
Sorry, there seems to be a Henry Hoover operating in your vicinity.
So, do I add a point for my perception? Is that how that works?
No, you add whatever your insight score is. So each of your skills on your character sheet relate to those 6 core abilities. Mm-hmm. So you will add one of those to your score. So
Right.
perception will probably give you insight, I would imagine.
Yeah. So am I adding twice the insight then?
No, just one.
Okay,
You only
right, cool.
ever add one ability score.
Okay, sweet. So I've rolled a 13 plus 4 for my insight is
Wow.
17.
Okay, absolutely. I mean, this is not a difficult test. So as you're riding the train, you hear the train wheels kind of thundering along. And then you notice a different kind of thundering coming from outside the window. And as you look out Three Finger Pete, you see a band of horses riding across the dusty plains towards this train. And they are headed for the train. So you start to wonder, there's only really one reason why they can be coming straight at you. And your suspicions are confirmed when suddenly you hear a large bang, like the sound of a tree falling. And then the wheels on the train come to a squealing halt, and you're all thrown kind of forwards in your seats. And it's suddenly very clear that this is a train robbery, and you are about to be boarded.
Oh my goodness. It's suddenly very clear to me that this is a train robbery, and we's about to be boarded.
Lady
That am I.
Lady May's hat has flung off her head onto the floor, and she's also fallen off the seat she was sat in. And all the gentlemen that were surrounding her are like rushing to try and help her get up. They're all like, some people are like pushing each other aside to try and like get to her first to try and get her up. And in the end, she kind of just takes one of the hands and grabs her hat, puts it on, and looks around. She says, "Well, I like a bit of excitement, but I never expected this."
So as the train draws to a halt, you start to see the train robbers. There's probably about a dozen of them, at least that you can see out of the window, Three Finger Pete. You see some of them start to dismount and board the carriages. And they walk in. You notice one of them has kind of like an eye patch over one eye and like some sort of facial scarring. You're not sure from what, that clearly the eye patch is the result of. And they scream, "All right, now everybody be calm. This is a train robbery. I'm sure you've experienced this before. So if you would just kindly empty your purses and so on, we can get moving and nobody has to taste any lead." So after this, obviously the other people on the train are quite panicked and they start to reach for their various purses and bags and offer them up to the... At the moment, there is a robber at each end of the carriage that you are on, and they are making their way towards the middle, kind of holding out a sack for people to put their possessions into.
Did you say all of the 12 have walked into this carriage, or just a few of them?
Your particular carriage, there is only one each side, so you expect the train is about 6 carriages long, so they're kind of taking one carriage each and stopping anyone from fleeing at the moment.
Do you think I could, like, is there like a little crawl space under the seat I could potentially sneak under?
So I would say that as they're walking down, they would almost certainly see that.
Okay.
It's not that crowded. It's reasonably, one person to each seat. It's not overpacked. It's not the London Tube.
Yeah, I think Pete sort of reluctantly and like quite annoyed sort of like pulls out like 3 rabbit skins and like dumps them on the ground. He's like, "There you go then."
The robber hesitates as if to, and kind of reaches for his gun like you're taking the mick, and then takes a look at you and is like, "Huh," and just kind of...
I think like if you saw him thieving a Pete, like all you can see is sincerity.
Yeah, exactly. They take a look at you and they know that's all you've got to offer. There's nothing more. They kind of... Are you holding a gun at all? Do you have a revolver on your hip? That's visible?
I have a hunting bow.
Wow, okay.
Which is, I guess, is just sort of like placed in the overhead luggage compartment or something.
Yeah, so for them, the bow is of no interest. It's essentially worthless. So they just keep moving down the train. As they come to you, Doctor, they kind of bang a pistol on the seat in front. Like, wake up! Empty your pockets.
What is happening?
I said
goodness.
empty your pockets.
I don't. Okay. And he takes out like a handkerchief and a pocket watch, and there's like a few pennies, but he doesn't really carry a lot of money not in his pockets at least.
Okay. They look at you and like, clearly you've emptied your pockets. They just move straight on. You don't present a threat. And they come to you, Lady May. And again, they just hold out the bag. This time, they're not even saying anything. They've gone most of the carriage at this point. It's clear what they're here to do. They don't need to instruct you.
Lady May is gonna turn to them, and she's gonna bring out like a paper fan that she's got. Just start fanning herself with that. And she's gonna like hold it up so like half her face is covered and just her eyes are looking out over it. And she's gonna look at the person who's trying to, frisk her, and she says, "Now, we don't need to play nasty here, boys. Come on, tell me your names." And she's gonna try and use like is there like a persuasion skill or like empathy? Would it be empathy?
You tell me, what skills do you have?
I have empathy.
I think empathy is like the persuasion kind of.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
that counts. So what are the attributes that are kind of attached to empathy?
It's insight.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd roll for insight. So you're just trying to convince them that maybe you're worth just leaving alone, or are you trying to do something else?
I think she's just trying to distract. So while she's doing this, I think she's going to be reaching behind her for something that's tucked into like the skirts of her dress. But she's just trying to keep their eyes on her face rather than what she's doing with her other hand.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So roll insight for me, or roll and then add insight.
Okay. It's 3d6, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always 3d6.
And my insight is 3.
Okay.
So I rolled a. It's 12 plus 3, 15.
Wow, okay. Yeah, so they don't notice you doing whatever you're doing. They're too distracted by the fan in front of your mouth. Or face.
Yeah. And while she's like fluttering her eyelashes while she's doing this, and then out from the backs of her skirts, she brings a pretty sizable looking rifle and aims it straight at the guy's, like under the guy's jaw, like holds it there and says, "Make it up a move, mister, and you're not gonna have any little pretty head left."
The other robber notices this, obviously, because you've just pulled a rifle on their companion and cocks their revolver and points it straight at you.
I was going to say, could we do one of those group actions here?
We're not in tactical combat yet.
All right.
But we may be about to get there. This is obviously a very close quarters situation. You have the rifle pointed at this robber's head or neck.
Yeah.
So you're not going to miss, but the other robber is then pointing a revolver straight at you.
Okay.
So they are also not going to miss.
Where can I ask where they are in relation to me?
So they
Everyone, all three of them.
So they have moved. So there's two robbers on the train. So they've moved past you at this point. So obviously they were kind of closing in from both ends, and so they've kind of met roughly in the middle. And after Lady May has pulled this rifle on the first robber, the other one has walked over, kind of revolver cocked, and said,
Okay, so all three
I
of them
wouldn't
are
do
in the
that.
middle. Okay.
I
Yes.
thought you were going to say revolver ocelot.
Yeah.
He's
They
just
bounce a
flipping them
bullet
around.
off of the
I was like, I'm getting really excited
juggling
now.
two revolvers. Yeah, they just cock the revolver, point it straight at you, like shake their head and kind of click their tongue as if to say,
Yeah.
don't be stupid.
Is the guy with the revolver in arm's reach of me? Then
no. So they've moved past you at this point.
All right. So he's just sort of leaning back now and been like, "Don't be stupid," kind of thing.
I'd like to. I think Dr. Dickery is gonna get up and. He's kind of like unawares, but he just really needs the toilet, so he's just gonna like make his way down towards where they are. I'm just gonna assume that the toilet is past these guys.
Also assuming that there are toilets on this train.
I was going to say,
1800s.
I think this train does not have toilets, so you
Then
might be trying
pee
to
off
get
the back of the train.
Yeah, you might be trying to get
Yeah.
outside. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think they look at you, and as you move past them, again, it's clear that you're not a threat. They just keep their eyes trained solely on Lady May, who is armed with a rifle.
I'm quite big, so I don't know how wide these are, but I'm gonna have to like really like. I'm probably gonna like bump because I'm also quite drunk and tired and all that. So I'm gonna like really sway around and potentially like, I don't know, bump into them and like knock them over. Well, that's what I'm going for anyway.
Okay, I tell you what, roll. Just roll 3d6 for me.
That's an 11.
Okay, so as you go past the robber with the revolver, you kind of jostle to the point where they turn around and are like, "What are you doing?" Like they were just going to let you by, but clearly you're not going to get by without jostling them around a bit. So for a second or so, they're distracted, looking at you as you bustle by.
Do I see this?
Yeah, oh yeah, because the revolver was originally pointed at you and is now not pointed at you.
May is going to quickly spin round so that the guy who she's threatening is standing in front of her, and she now has the gun like pointed right at his back, and she's going to start making her way towards the exit of the carriage.
Okay, I
That
think
makes sense.
seeing...
Like, is the exit behind her? Like,
So, are you going to the same exit as the doctor?
so
If the doctor is going out the back to pee,
So
are you
I'm
kind of
imagining
following?
this. No, I'm imagining the situation is like Lady May is maybe here, and the rest of the gunmen are like further towards the other end of the carriage. Am I reading this right?
they're
Or-
both very close to you at this point,
They're
because
both
obviously
very
you were pointing
close.
you were pointing the gun at the one who was holding out the bag to take stuff off you originally,
Oh, and the guy.
and then the
right
other
there.
one walked
Okay,
up with a revolver cocked. So they were both together until the
so
doctor jostled past.
whatever position I can be in where this guy is between me and the other guy with the revolver,
Okay.
that's just where I want to be. Like,
Yeah, so I think you could probably kind of back up. If the doctor has moved past at this point towards the end of the train to go to the toilet, you can kind of follow with your rifle raised at them and try and follow out the back.
Yeah, so I'm like using this guy as a shield, basically.
Okay,
But I've
yeah,
still
I think...
got the gun pointed at his back, just in case he tries anything funny.
Yeah, I think they... Like, the one who you originally pointed at goes to kind of reach for the revolver. Or at least, like, bring it up. And then the other one's just like, don't bother. You know, just let her
Okay.
go.
Yeah,
me-
so I've got this
It's not
guy.
worth it for a fan or a bullet in the face.
Yeah. So I've still got this guy in front of me. I'm holding him as a shield, and I'm inching back towards
the end of the train.
exit. Yeah.
Okay,
Has Lady
so...
May got most of the attention right now then?
Yes, yeah, because you've caused this kerfuffle with a rifle. So they're obviously trained on you because no one else has presented any kind of a threat. So they are both looking towards the end of the train where the Doctor and Lady May are kind of shuffling backwards or stumbling around.
I end up just peeing in the corner, by the way.
Oh wow, nice.
I think Pete's gonna like quietly sort of unsheath a knife and sort of grip it, like shaking a little bit. And then as he sort of like turns around to make sure that the one who's not being held up, who's like basically counter standing off with Lady May, and then like a sort of like hunter's instinct overtakes him, and he just flips the knife into the other side and just throws it at him.
Okay,
Whoa!
so Right, so we're going to move into tactical combat here. So something I should explain about the Desperados pen and paper role-playing game is if you've played Desperados, the video game, any of them, you'll know that it's kind of real-time combat. So there's a lot of enemies have kind of vision cones, fields of view, and often it's the case where you have to navigate around them. So the pen and paper role-playing game has tokens and terrain that you use to kind of portray these vision fields that the players then need to navigate. Because we're playing remotely, that's not the easiest thing here. So what I'm going to do is describe vision fields and kind of vision cones to the players, because if you step into them, it's an automatic failure and you will take damage from the enemy shooting at you. So normally, when playing normally, you would use tokens on a table, but here you'll just have to use your imaginations. But in this case, they're both facing the end of the train where Lady May and the Doctor have moved past, so they can't see you, Three Finger Pete, as you throw this knife. So, in terms of combat, these are just normal hench people. So there are two types of enemies in the RPG. There are hench people, which have 1 HP, very easy to dispatch, and there are bosses, which have 3 HP, and they take a bit more shooting or stabbing or whatever way you wish to take them out. So, in this case, you're throwing the knife. Mm-hmm. So I would say this is probably, because you're throwing it, it's probably more of an agility.
Yeah.
So if you have an applicable skill...
Yeah, I've got ranged combat.
Okay, perfect, yeah. So you're using the knife as a ranged weapon, so you're throwing it straight at the robber who did originally have the revolver trained on Lady May. So if you roll 3d6 and add your ability modifier for agility...
So just to clarify, if I didn't have anything that would have applied, I would just have my 3d6?
Exactly,
Because I've got ranged combat, I get to add my agility?
Yes.
All right. That's a great roll. Okay, that's 12 plus 4. That's 16.
Okay.
Ooh.
So these gang members only have a difficulty level of 12. So you have beaten that. So, and because they only have 1 HP, you immediately dispatch this unfortunate robber.
Straight through the eyes.
With a knife. So yeah, they drop down. They're gone. There's now a kind of split second, because Lady May, you would have seen what Three Finger Pete was about to do, because they were obviously facing you. You were facing the other way of the carriage. So there's now a split second for you to try and react as the other gang member now turns around, wondering what the noise is behind them.
Okay.
Obviously, their friend having taken a knife and dropping to the floor. So what they kind of hear is like a and then just drop on the floor. They are spinning around, so you have about a second before they spot Three Finger Pete.
Oh, so they're spinning around to Three Finger Pete. So I've still got this guy in front. I'm still holding this guy.
That's the person spinning around was the person you had their gun trained on, because they were facing you as you backed away.
He's spinning
Okay,
around.
I think
Move out of his way.
Yeah, because I thought that Lady May had hold of this person.
Oh,
And
was
yeah,
taking
that's
them as a
what I
literal
was-
hostage.
Yes, like a human shield. That was what I was describing.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were just saying you had your gun trained on them.
No. So I turned them round and I was using them as like a human shield against the other guy.
In this case, you wouldn't have been able to take the human shield, because that you would have had to grab them, and obviously they had the other one had a gun trained on you at that point, so it would have taken multiple seconds to grab them, and so on. So I think you're backing away at this point. You still have them held up with your rifle, but you do not have like physical hold of them, because you would have also had to drop your rifle and grab
So
them.
they're turning to Three Finger Pete,
Yes.
presumably to dispatch him.
Yes.
I'm gonna yell out. Lady May is gonna yell out of him and say, "I wouldn't move if I were you, unless you want to get really acquainted with Mrs. Nesbit here."
The robber just kind of freezes, utterly confused at what's going on, and who on earth Mrs. Nesbit is. Clearly not
He should
understanding
know.
that you're referring to the rifle. Just like, what?
So did he spin around looking at me, or?
He started to spin around to face Three Finger Pete, and is now, as you call out, spinning back to you, very
To me.
confused about what's going
I'm
on.
gonna like gesture with the rifle, as if saying, you know, this is Mrs. Nesbit.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce you to her.
It does one of those like hard zooms into like an inscription on the side of the barrel, like it's
That's
Romeo
it.
and Juliet or something.
Yeah. So I want to like. Would it be intimidation that I'm trying to do here?
So I think at this point, they're the only robber left on this train. They have a rifle trained on them. There's no one to back them up now, so they just basically drop the revolver that was in their hand, just raise their hands, and it's like, please don't shoot me. It was my first day on the job. I haven't been a member of this gang for too long.
I think I'd like to go over and hog tie him.
Oh wow! Okay.
I've got some rope.
You do have rope. That's a good start.
My side items.
Sure. Okay. I think. Yeah. So you can go over and hog tie them. That's not a problem. Again, they've just completely thrown their hands up at this point. There's no way they're going to fight back against a rifle and someone who just threw a knife at their companion. So you hog tie them. What do you do with them once they're hog tied?
Can Lady May lean down while he's being hogtied and say to him, now that we've come to an understanding, would you like to tell me whether any of your friends are here as well? Any more of you?
Excuse me. At this point, I've peed and I'm heading back to my seat.
Thank
I'm
God.
trying to climb across and climb over the guy like on the floor and just kind of make my way down the carriage like really awkwardly.
Thank God that the storyline of you going for a pee has been resolved. I was really worried about.
We're all on the edge of our seats.
So you're trying to clamber over what's going on here right now.
I'm so oblivious. I'm just trying to get back to my seat.
Okay, so I think you have to kind of jostle your way past Lady May and Three Finger Pete in that case, and over the now hog-tied robber on the floor. Can you make me? Do you have any kind of agility skills?
I have lots of agility. Yeah.
Really?
I think that the drunkenness like helps me somehow. Like that's what I mean by like I'm very lucky. Like I tend to just fall or move in the right way. Like just.
Are you like the drunken master or something?
I was about to say they have the fighting style.
I don't know what that is.
There's like a drunken fighting style where you're just really wavy and like nobody can predict your movements.
That's pretty much me. Yeah. Because metal and agility are like my really strong things.
Roll for agility then, or roll 3d6 and add agility.
Oh, that's 20.
Okay, yeah, you make it over fine. You don't even stumble, and everyone looking on is quite surprised by how just kind of nimbly you step over and move through, especially before when you managed to jostle the robbers on the way by, which they felt wasn't a deliberate attempt for you. And now you're just kind of stepping through and weaving through the very tight, compact carriage. So this robber is now hogtied on the floor. It's been stepped over.
I asked him a question.
Whether there were more robbers.
Yeah.
So, did you gag this robber?
No, I mean, before I'd like to, if he attempted to, I'd like to get in there before he gagged him.
No, I don't have any kind of like thing to tie around him. I've just been tying his hands with my rope.
Okay, sure. I mean, so he's like, well, yeah, there's about a dozen of us. We are, well, I guess 11 now. Looking at the deceased companion on the floor, it's like we're led by old Bob Blind Eye Brown. We're here on behalf of Big Ann. Please, go deal with the others. I promise I won't shout.
Do you know whereabouts they might be in this here train?
They'll be on the other carriages, I guess. The plan was it was meant to be a simple robbery, just taken from the rich folks and some of the poor folks too, but they'll be doing exactly the same as us. They're probably about done by now.
Did you say Big M?
Big Ann.
Big Ann.
Yes.
Big
Okay.
O.
So you're kind of aware of Big Ann's name. She's a very well-known kind of outlaw.
Okay.
Or at least you've heard rumours, the kind of things said in saloons after a couple of whiskies, but not said too loudly just in case. So you're aware that Big Ann is quite a notorious robber, particularly of trains, with quite a sizable gang. But you've also heard rumblings recently that she might be trying to escape over the border and that she had one last big heist in mind.
Okay. Well, I'm very grateful for your information. I'm afraid you're gonna have to be mighty quiet now. And she grabs out of her corset, pulls out like a like a, what do you call it, like a
Handkerchief.
handkerchief, yeah, and like stuffs it in his mouth. Yeah. Says, "There's a good boy now." She stands up, and like taps him on the head with her booty.
Her booty?
Yeah, as in her boot.
Not a bum, then.
No. As Kate Bush would call it, a booty. And turns around to you, Three Finger Pete, and she says, "Mighty grateful for what you did there."
No problem, ma'am. Excuse me 1 second. I think Three Finger Pete walks over to get to retrieve the knife. Like he sort of like just walks over really jauntily and then like bends over to sort of like grab it, and it's a bit stuck. Oh, there we go. And then I think he like grabs the body and just starts like making a few cuts. And then he looks up at this like horrified woman passenger who's like about to faint, and he's like, and he sort of realizes what he's doing. He's like, "Oh, sorry, ma'am, force of habit."
I think as you pulled the knife out as well, there was like a little bit of arterial spray, and so like a kind of a gentleman dressed in very fine kind of clothes just gets a little bit on the face and just drops over.
Oh wow.
Okay, so you've cleaned off your knife, you've dispatched the 2 robbers that were on your particular carriage, but you know there are roughly 10 or so more. I think at this point, if you can hear kind of as the robber said, they're probably about finishing up, so you start to hear some noise outside. And one of you, or all 3 of you, look out the window, and you can see that the gang are kind of reconvening their horses, and half of them appear to be riding off, while the others are sticking around. So there are roughly 5 of them left outside now. And you can see one who you assume was the Bob Blind Eye Brown, who was mentioned by the robber on the floor, because he's just sitting a little bit taller. His horse is slightly nicer. He looks like he's the leader of the gang. They're all kind of facing him. So you can tell that he is probably the one commanding them, and he is stuck around with 4 or so kind of hench people.
Is the train stopped now? Did they stop the train?
Yeah, so the train came to a squealing halt. You assume because of a tree that was dropped onto the line.
Right.
Because you kind of heard a bang.
Yeah.
So it's clear that the train won't be moving for a little while. You suspect that this little gang have been left behind to just make sure that nobody follows after the rest.
Okay. I'm going to grab my bow from the overhead luggage compartment.
Okay.
Is there a bar on this train? Is there like a bar carriage or anything like that?
No, so it's a very simple train. You know, it's largely for your everyday travellers. There are a few rich folks there, obviously, because it's being robbed. But it's not, you're not travelling in first class, and you suspect that there is no such thing as a first class compartment.
Okay. Dr. Dickory still goes looking for a bar.
Okay.
Wow.
Or like he kind of look like he's gonna start moving down the other side of the train, kind of either looking for a bar or just looking for unattended bags that might have like alcohol in them.
So you rummaging around in strangers' bags?
Yeah, but only if they're unattended. Only if they're unattended.
Okay, so I think the passengers...
Miss, it's another one of them robbers.
Yeah, so the passengers are looking at you because obviously you're kind of very different to the robbers who just passed through, but because they're quite shaken up by what's just taken place, nobody dares say a word. So you're just rummaging through and they assume that you are just another one of the robbers, but nobody wants to speak up or say anything.
I give one of them a wink.
Oh.
They don't even dare return your look. They just stare straight down at the end of the carriage and just go, take what you want.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I forgot my accent there.
Lady May is gonna look at Three Finger Pete. She's gonna say, I think we found some of the others. And she gestures out the window to Blind Eye Brown, was it?
Bob Blind Eye Brown, yeah. I'm tripping on my words.
Bob
Blind
Eye
Brown.
Right. Yeah, she's gonna like gesture outside to the others.
Can I want to sort of like being quite cautious to see that I'm not like poking my head out so everyone can see me looking. I want to get like a proper look at the group and maybe see like how well armed they are. Does it look like they're like preparing to leave, or are they just sort of like rendezvousing before they do something else?
So, like I say, it seems that it's clear that they're just hanging around outside to stop anyone chasing the rest of the gang back to whichever hideout they've come from. So in terms of how they're armed, Bob Blind Eye Brown has a rifle, but the rest tend to have just kind of knives. There's not many with revolvers. There's maybe 2 among the gang. You feel like they probably spread themselves out in the carriages to make it seem like they were much better armed than they were.
Okay, interesting.
But as you look out, you can also see that, so at the moment they're all facing each other because they're just kind of reconvening and probably catching up about their takings. And there is a ridge not far from the end of your carriage that you think you might be able to at least kind of take cover behind while you work out how to deal with them.
Okay. So Three Finger Pete sees this ridge.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can. It's pretty easy to see if you look out the window. So if either of you looks out the window, it's pretty easy to.
And that's on the other side of the train from Bob.
It's the same side, but it's close enough to the end of your carriage where you could probably sneak behind it.
Okay.
Without being seen.
I'd like to wander off the train now. I think I might have found something, or I don't know. But either way, I'd like to go out for a breath of fresh air. So I'm going to step off the train and just kind of stand there with my, like, hand in here, like this, and just enjoy the scenery.
Okay, as you step off the train, one of the robbers notices you and starts to turn, and then kind of nudges the robber next to them, and the group as a whole just kind of turn to face you, and one of them with a rifle starts to raise it, but Blind Eye Brown just kind of, seeing the state you're in, you're clearly not a threat, just pats the barrel of the gun back down and just shakes his head, and it's just like, it's just another drunk. Leave him be, they're not worth the lead.
Wow. Lady May is gonna say to Three Finger Pete, wow, he's got guts. Do you think we can use this as a distraction to go... use this as a distraction to go behind that there ridge. And she gestures towards the ridge.
Seems like we got ourselves our bait, ma'am.
You're right there, my friend. And they're gonna head...
So do we have to, will we have to move into another carriage to be able to get behind this ledge, or is it sort of...
No, so at the end of the carriage where the doctor went to the bathroom, there's obviously the little stairs to step down when you're disembarking the train.
Bathroom being a loose term.
So if you slide off there, you can get behind the ridge without being seen. Because it's far enough from where the gang are kind of reconvening a little bit further up the train.
I think I prep an arrow and just sort of like nudge to say that, let's go, and sort of like sneak out, just sort of like stepping around the piss, and and just sort of like creaking the door open before sort of like just shimmying over to the ledge so that we're in visual cover.
Lady May is going to attempt to follow, holding her hat onto her head. Her hat is like one of those really wide brimmed hats with like bows on it and such. She's gonna sneak down behind the ridge as well, along with Three Finger Pete.
So you both managed to sneak behind the ridge while the gang are facing the doctor, so there was no way you were going to be seen. The dust is kind of whipping across. It's a completely open plain at the moment. You suspect that's why they stayed behind, because it would be quite easy to follow the gang for quite some distance, because there's not really any obstacles other than a couple of trees which have been felled to stop the train. So you've managed to get behind this ridge. You can see, as I say, there's Blind Eye and the rest of the gang who are currently facing the doctor, but are just kind of not perceiving a threat. At this point, they're just kind of joking among themselves, like laughing. The doctor, probably, if any of them are close enough, there's just a little whiff of urine. So they're just not taking it very seriously at all. They think they've got this under control.
I'd like to walk over to the group, because they're laughing and having a good time. So I'm assuming that they're drinking. So I'm gonna go join them.
Okay, you stumble up to them.
Yeah.
So Blind Eye is on a horse. There is another gang member currently on a horse, and the rest are on foot. So they're just kind of stood around, and as you approach, they're just like, "Well, look at here. What are you doing, old man? Where do you think you're going?"
I'm not that old. But thank you. What are you doing over here? Are you're just having some drinks in the desert, or?
That's it. Yep, just a couple of drinks and just taking the opportunity where we seize it.
Oh, excellent! Yes, that's very good. Very good. What are you drinking exactly? May I ask?
One of them just brings out a bottle of some kind of clearish liquid. It looks like there are some little bits floating in it. You can't tell whether it was distilled that way or whether that's kind of the backwash from this particular robber's mouth after a kind of days and months of drinking from the same bottle.
I bet there's like a tooth in there floating around.
Well, that particular robber has very few teeth remaining in their mouth, so you suspect that at some point there may have been a tooth floating around, and perhaps what remains is
it'll
the
be
little
like
bits.
that tequila that they put the maggots in.
Yeah, only a lot crunchier.
Yeah. I mean, if they're offering, I will drink it. You know, he's not fussy.
They do not offer you. No, they are just.
I didn't think they would.
No. They're just like essentially mocking you. You know, they're like nudging each other and kind of laughing at your
laugh
apparent
along.
appearance. They start to become a little bit unnerved because, you are not part of the joke. You are the joke.
While this is taking place, Lady May is going to turn to Three Finger Pete. She's going to say, "What's the plan here? Us against 5 of them? Trying to take them down or just scare them away?"
Well, whenever I got a big herd of animals to deal with, it's all about being sneaky and clever. That's what old Pete thinks. So how's about we set some kind of trap? I actually have a special skill called Bear Trap. So I think maybe like in my like backpack or something, I've got like some kind of like wrench open metal bear traps. I think I sort of show them to you, Lady May, and I'm sort of like gesturing over to like. Maybe is there like a little sort of like area of maybe trees or shrub or something where I could obscure?
So there's very little vegetation, but you coming down behind the ridge where you are, there's obviously a bit of a ramp, so you could probably crawl up, lay a trap, and then call them round to try and come down to the ridge where you are, and they wouldn't see it before it was too late.
Okay, I'm gonna try and sneak up to sort of like the natural place that you would walk. If you were trying to get to the top of the ledge kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to sort of like wrench open one of the bear traps and maybe like cover it with a bit of sand so it sort of blends in a bit.
Okay, absolutely. I don't know, are there any special rules around your bear traps? I don't know them off the top of my head.
You can use it instead of an attack, but seeing as we're outside of... it auto succeeds, but seeing as we're outside of combat, you might want to maybe like a stealth or something like that. Or
Okay, no, I think at this point you're well hidden. There's no immediate threat. They're distracted by the doctor, so you're able to lay this trap without a problem. There's enough wind kind of howling through this particular plane where the sound of you creaking open this bear trap,
might sound like a train
they
or
don't
something.
even think about it. Yeah, exactly. There's all kind of mechanical noises and noise going on. So you're easily able to lay this trap. You cover it over with sand. You can maybe just see a couple of the teeth poking out, but only if you knew it was
if
there.
you were paying
Otherwise,
attention,
you just take them as small rocks.
Okay, and then I think... as I sneak back to Lady May, I'm going to use the other special skill which comes with the Trapper, which is the template. That's the word. Template that I'm playing as, which is called Animal Call. I can use that to make someone move, basically, because they get confused by. I then pull out from my backpack. I've got like loads of these little wooden whistles, and it's almost like like a ring of keys. I'm like sort of flicking through them. I'm like, no moose out here. And then I think I found like I don't know, like some kind of like something that would sound a bit ominous, like some kind of vulture or something like that,
Or a cougar, maybe?
Or a cougar.
Yeah,
Cougars
so I think
around here.
a vulture wouldn't be as much of a problem because obviously they would look up and see it. But I think some kind of cougar noise would work.
Some
So just like a
coyote.
low kind of like...
Yeah. Having had the experience of playing the first Red Dead Redemption, I'm aware of how much of a problem cougars can be. So yeah, I recommend the cougar. For
Very
sure.
well then. I find my cougar whistle, which they drink free on Fridays, and I'm gonna blast the whistle behind, so
Wow.
so that you can like sort of hear it from the group.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a menacing kind of like low kind of
Yeah.
or something like that. Where the kind of noise where they're like, oh god.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this noise, obviously, it sounds like a cougar. So the gang immediately kind of start looking around. They're very kind of... It's a very confusing situation because there was a drunk doctor stumbling around, and now there appears to be a cougar. A couple of them, first of all, look at the doctor to see if it was the doctor that made the noise. And when it was clear that it came from elsewhere, they start looking around, and Blind Eye Brown is like... He nods at one of the gang on foot and says, "Go check it out." And the gang member's like, "Oh, Bob, that sounds like
But
a cougar."
baby Bill.
I'm not. And Bob just pulls out his revolver and shoots the gang member. For hesitation, he just drops.
God.
And then he points at the next gang member
Whoa.
on the floor. It's like, "You go check it out." This gang member does so without even questioning it. It's just like, "Yes, Bob."
Bob, what if there's a ghost?
So this gang member is now turning around to walk towards the ridge where you are. It's worth saying at this point, after you blow the cougar... I was going to say cougar horn. That's not the word for it. The cougar noisemaker. You hear some cattle, like kind of starting to rustle around and kind of low in distress at this noise. And you realise that a little further up the train from where you are, not far from the doctor actually, is a carriage full of cattle. And they have obviously been quite spooked by the noise of a predator creeping around. So you suspect that you might be able to use that to your advantage.
I think-
When
I think the doctor is quite spooked by the fact that somebody's just been shot where he's right, like next to him. I'm assuming this guy on the floor is dead, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay,
miss
there's no
from that
point
range.
checking.
Depends how good a doctor you are, really.
No, I think even in a state of intoxication, it's very clear that there's no medical help that could help this particular gang member.
Okay, cool.
what hearing the lowing of the cattle, Lady May is going to turn to Three Finger Pete, and she's going to say, "I got a plan. You know to get round there and release them cattle." She gestures with her head over to the cattle.
We sure could try, ma'am.
If I go out there and create a little distraction, do you think you can go and do that for me?
Anything you say, ma'am.
Good boy now. Go on.
So I think you know that you could... The train is obviously quite high, and there are gaps between the carriages where you could crawl under and get round to the back of the cattle carriage if you needed to.
After she says this and gestures towards the cattle, she's going to put her rifle back behind, stuff it back into the waist of her skirt, because that's where Mrs. Nesbit lives. And then she's going to get up and start running towards the group and screaming in distress.
Okay.
And also shouting, "Cougar! Cougar!"
Are you waiting till the gang member walking towards the ridge gets to the trap?
Actually,
Because
yeah, no, she's gonna wait until
because
he
I
gets to
think
the trap.
you're aware that when that gang member steps on the trap, they probably won't do quietly. It's probably going to hurt quite a bit. So
Actually, no,
the
you know what?
distraction may
She's
be covered
gonna-
for you.
Oh, that's a good point.
Although in the picture in the rule book, he looks like he's taken it quietly.
Yeah, it
when
looks like he's
steps on
taking
that
it
trap.
quite well. I think she wants to combine the two distractions, so the chaos.
So it looks like the guy's screaming because he's been bitten by a cougar.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so she's gonna wait until just before she thinks he's gonna step into the trap.
Okay.
Get out, run, scream, cougar, and then hopefully as she does that and gets towards them, he steps on the bear trap. So it's just like a combination of complete and utter chaos.
Okay, so you've probably got about 30 to 45 seconds before the gang member gets to the trap and your plan goes into motion. So in that
Okay.
time, Three Finger Pete and the Doctor, what are you doing? Obviously, Doctor, you don't necessarily know the bear trap plan, but you believe there's a cougar on the loose as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the guys get distracted and leave their alcohol behind. So and also I'm still quite worried about the fact they just shot a dude right next to me. I didn't really know these guys were bad until they just shot one of their own. So I think I'm a bit I'm starting to sweat profusely, and I'm just kind of looking around what have I gotten myself into? I think I've kind of snapped out of my drunken haze a little bit. So I'm kind of looking around for a way for me to very subtly leave the scene, but also don't want them to see how scared I am. So at the moment that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of just looking around, looking for a way out.
I think after the cougar call, the horse that both Blind Eye and the other gang member are on, they're nervously shifting around, and none of them are really looking at you. They're not necessarily looking in the direction of the ridge, they're just looking around to see where it came from. So no, I don't think anyone's necessarily getting how nervous you are yet.
Okay.
They're obviously aware of you. I think if you tried to slip away at the moment, they'd be a little suspicious, but you could probably do so because they've got bigger fish to fry at this point.
I think I go, I'm going to check if that came from the train, and then I turn around and kind of waddle over to the train and just as my way out.
Yeah, they just let you go. You're not trying to escape to call any authorities. They just watch you waddle off, and they just kind of look at each other and then resume their worrying about the
Stop
cougar.
him, he's going to ring animal control.
Okay, so Three Finger Pete, while all this is going on, whereabouts are you?
Yeah, I think I'm sneaking under the wheels and trying to get close to the animal carriage.
Okay. So as you approach so like I say, it's a little further up the train, but it's not so far that it's going to take you more than a minute to get to it. So you get to it in plenty of time before you hear the bear trap go snap. And you see that if you clambered through the gap between the carriages, there is a latch at the top of the cattle carriage that you could flick or pull across to let the cattle out and cause all kinds of pandemonium.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to try and sort of shimmy up in between the carriages, making sure there's no one looking, and just sort of clamber up and reach out for the latch so that I can just sort of let the door just gently swing open.
Sure. Okay, so at this point, you're clambering up the cattle carriage to open the latch. Meanwhile, the gang member who was sent to investigate the cougar against their will, they move round the edge of the ridge, so they're just out of eye line of the rest of the gang, and they step on the trap, and it snaps shut, and they do not go quietly into the night. And they start screaming. They don't scream trap, they just scream. So
Okay.
At this point, the remaining two gang members and Blind Eye Brown... is that two gang members? Sorry, that should be 3 gang members, I believe.
There were 5, one
there were
got
5.
shot, one got bear trapped.
Yeah.
4, 3. Okay, yeah, so there's 1 shot, down to 4.
Yeah.
The
That's
4th
that
one is now
classic
standing in the
song.
bear trap. So there's 2 and Blind Eye. Sorry, I was losing
that
track.
classic song. Once there were 5, one got shot. One got caught
So-
in a bear trap.
They just spin around because there's all kinds of screaming coming from behind the ridge. They can't see what's causing it. They just assume that there is a cougar of
Yeah.
some kind.
Which, at that moment, Lady May is going to run, out behind the ridge, screaming as well. and yelling, "Cougar! Cougar!" like that, in distress.
Okay, I think they take this at face value. There is no reason why they would question this. They heard a cougar call, they heard someone scream, and now they're hearing someone go cougar cougar. So they're confused as to why you're outside and why you're not a gang member, but they don't really question it. So whereabouts are you running to, Lady May?
I'm running like towards them.
Okay, so I think they're confused, but they're not necessarily reacting to you just yet because you are not the threat. You know, you appear to just be a person running away from a cougar.
Okay.
So you probably can get quite close to them.
Yeah. I think Lady May's plan here is that once the cattle are released and chaos ensues, she's going to take that opportunity once she's near enough to them to like leap up onto one of the horses with a gang member and like take him as a hostage.
Okay, so you're jumping up onto the horse that has the gang member that isn't Blind Eye Brown.
Yeah, no, she don't want to mess with him, but she
Right.
does want to get her hands on one of them because she wants, after hearing the name Big Ann, she wants to hear more about what's going on. So I think she's going to try and time it so then when she gets close enough to one of the gang members on the horse, the cattle will be released and she'll be able to leap up onto the back of the horse and like try and grapple him.
Okay, so you're timing this with Three Finger Pete, who
Releasing-
is opening the cattle. You can see this from your vantage point at the top of the
It's
carriage.
all just, a lot of it is instinct, I think. She's just like going, okay, I'll get one shot. You
Yeah.
only got one shot.
You're very
One
aware that
opportunity.
if Pete
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
pull open the latch, that you will be filled with lead
Oh yeah, but
quicker
you know,
than you can say, "Where's the
the-
cattle?"
It's the land of the quick and the dead, Matt Jarvis. You can't just take, you got to take risks.
Okay, so you can see this from your vantage point, having climbed up to release the latch, Pete. So do you pull the latch?
Oh, I pulled the latch as soon as I found it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I was
Okay.
waiting for a particular time to unleash.
Okay, so as Lady May reaches one of the horses, or the horse with the gang member on, can you roll me some kind of agility, Lady May?
Yeah.
It depends
so I
what
can
skills
do.
you have. What skills do you have?
I do have, skills wise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any specific skill that would allow me to do this. I have conceal, but that allows me to conceal an object.
Yeah, I don't think that would apply here.
No,
So
I think it's just straight. Would it be straight up agility, or just roll 3 dice?
So roll 3 dice and add your agility to it. I think it's going to be quite a hard roll because obviously you're going to need to move with pretty precise timing. You're going to need to clamber up a horse. So it's it's a lot to ask, but it is possible.
Okay. That is. Yeah, that's 13.
So that's not quite going to do it.
Okay.
So I think you try and clamber up the horse, but you just can't like swing your leg over high enough. The horses are moving around because they've been agitated by the cougar call. There's obviously been a gunshot that's gone off, so that's, although their horses kind of well accustomed to gunshots, it was very close to them. So I think as you try and swing your leg up, the gang member just kind of pushes you down. It's like, what the heck are you trying to do? But at this point, the cattle burst loose from the carriage, and I am going to roll a 1d... I think it's a 1d3, sure. Okay, so as the cattle come charging out, they're obviously just scattering because they are severely freaked out by the cougar. They weren't expecting to be let loose. They've been packed inside this carriage. So as they sweep through, they take out the remaining gang member who was on the floor, who was kind of pointing their weapon or kind of brandishing a knife at Lady May. So they just get wiped by a load of cattle You don't see them; they just disappear in a cloud of cattle and smoke.
Oh, dear.
And the horse that you were attempting to climb on, Lady May, in some ways it's good that you didn't manage to clamber on top of it, because it's pushed over by some cattle, which sends the gang member flying. The horse is okay. The horse gets back up, but at this point, the horse isn't sticking around. The horse gallops off.
Do I not get a chance to grab the
so-
reins?
No, because I think
Okay.
there's so many cattle kind of charging past you. You know, the horse is just lost in the smoke for a while.
Okay.
It goes down and then it's off.
While the cattle's running past, Lady May is going to use this opportunity to. Is there the end of the carriage that they're currently next to? Can she run behind that carriage and use it as a shield between her and?
So I think at the moment you're down on the floor because you didn't manage to get on top of the horse, and then the cattle is charging around you. So for the moment, you can't move anywhere because there's a load of cattle just running by. So you're going to have to wait. But you're aware that the only person remaining now is Blind Eye himself.
Okay.
Who is thoroughly confused but has managed to stay on top of his horse, and hasn't kind of saw you run towards the horse and try and clamber up, but because of all the smoke and dust and cattle, lost you in the confusion.
Yeah, because of the incessant mooing that's
Exactly.
happening right now.
So, Doctor, you hear this as you're clambering back onto the train. You obviously are out of the path of the cattle, but you hear a stampede of cattle. So you probably turn around and see all of this, and see that two of the gang members have gone, and there is only one left.
I'm assuming that I can see Lady May in the midst of all the cattle.
No, so there's so much dust and smoke that you can only see Blind Eye sat on top of his horse. The horse is moving around, but he's staying up there.
Okay. Cool. That's already known.
Yeah. Yes.
I know. Oh no, this is not tactical combat, is it?
It is,
could be.
and it isn't. Yeah. If you wish to make a combat move, you can make a combat move. Blind Eye's field of vision is not pointed towards you. It's kind of swinging around everywhere apart from the train because he's kind of looking at the cattle going by. And there's so much dust and confusion that at the moment there is an opening.
Okay, here is what I'm... No, I don't know. I don't know what I do. Can you ignore me for a second while I think?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll
Free
let you
IP.
know when I think of something.
You've obviously pulled open this latch. All the cattle have gone by. The carriage is rattling as they go, but you're quite safe. You're out of the way.
I think I'm going to haul myself up onto the roof
Okay.
of the train and just try and keeping low, get closer to the kerfuffle so I can get a bit of advantage on Bob, so I can maybe stick an arrow in him.
Okay, yeah, you're not that many carriages away, so as you kind of clamber over, you have to hop between two carriages, and as you do so, you kind of see the Doctor just below you, turning around on the edge of the carriage. Yeah.
I'd like to kind of just yell, because I'm assuming there's steps coming down from the carriage. I'd like to kind of stand on the steps and kind of yell over to Bob and go, yoo-hoo! Are you all right? Are you going to be okay?
Do you have any persuasion skills, Lolis?
I have humanities? That's...
I think that's a knowledge
that
skill
probably
rather
won't
than
cut it. Okay, I mean, you can roll for this, but it would just be 3d6, and you're going to need to roll high, because there's a lot of noise between the cattle and the smoke and the dust, and
Yeah, that's a lot of mooing.
a Doctor shouting through the midst of it is not the priority.
I rolled a 13.
That's not going to do it. He kind of hears a little bit, but he just whizzes past you, turning his head. Doesn't pay any real attention to you.
I
'cause you're
just
not
wave. I just
stampeding
keep
at him.
waving. And then I have an idea, and I think to myself, and I go into my waistcoat, I guess, and pull out my pistol, because I'm trying to get his attention, so I'm going to shoot up
Oh
into
my
the air
God.
to try and get his attention.
Okay, you fire into the air. I think Right, okay. As you fire into the air, he, like, obviously there's a gunshot, so suddenly that takes precedence. He's like, who's shooting at me? So he will turn around on his horse, and he will, you know what, I'm gonna, normally, so combat in Desperados is normally at the end of a round, you will take automatic damage if you're not in cover. Because if you're exposed, the enemies will shoot you. I think in this case, because it's him whizzing around, I'm going to roll. I'm going to roll for him and see how high I roll, and make a decision based on that. Okay. I rolled a 13, which is quite high. So he is going to loose a shot at you, but it's going to basically sink into the carriage right next to you. It's very close, but it's not... It doesn't land on you.
I all of a sudden, like, my face kind of drops, and I'm like, that's very rude. I would like to step into the train and kind of like hide myself.
Okay.
And I think I'm then going to try and actually shoot him now.
Okay, so the way cover works is if you have cover, it's just automatic. You cannot be shot. Generally, to make an attack, particularly a ranged attack, you have to step out into the open. So you will be exposing yourself. But you can make the shot. So do you have ranged...
I have a pistol.
Okay. Do you have... Is it ranged attack,
Ranged
the
attack,
skill?
Yeah.
Ranged
No,
combat.
I don't.
Oh, sorry, ranged
I have
combat.
melee, actually. No, I didn't take ranged.
Okay, so I'm going to say this is an agility roll, because you are kind of... You're trying to aim for a lot of dust. You're trying to aim at a target that's... It's a fair few meters
I
away.
mean, I think it'd be the case of if you don't have ranged combat, you can't use agility or wits. You have to just roll straight up, right? Because ranged attack allows you to add your modifier, right?
Yeah. I think you might be right.
I'd like everyone to just note there that Matt was trying to be a kind DM, and me just came in and went,
Sorry, I
no, I'm
just
pretty
That's
sure it's
fine.
not like that, actually. I think she's screwed.
I just want to make sure that we're playing the game.
Yeah, I believe that is right. So you need a suitable skill. Some weapons like allow you to use particular skills, depending on what they are. But yeah, in this case, you just roll 3d6 slowly.
It's fine.
Good luck.
It's fine.
Sorry.
He's just a bit taken aback and just finds it very rude, and I only rolled an 8.
So in this case, you have attempted to do combat. So we're now in a round of combat. But because you failed a roll, and it's not what they call oh goodness, I can't remember the name of it, a coherent attack, I believe, which is where you take an action as a group. So you can choose to take an action, a concerted attack, sorry. So you can choose to act as a group simultaneously, and that means that you will not necessarily take damage because you might kill all remaining opponents before they have a chance to act. In this case, because you just fired off a shot, there's no ability to plan with the rest of the group. So your shot goes wide, and this time Bob finds his mark, and he strikes you in the upper thigh with a bullet. So if you could lose a HP, please.
Right in the snake thigh.
Oh.
It's fine. I've got loads of HP.
Wow, for an old man, you're quite hardy, aren't
It's
you?
that
Louis?
gut.
Yeah.
You see a lot of stuff as a doctor. So that's your turn, Doc. You've been struck by a bullet. Meanwhile, Three Finger Pete is crawling up on the roof. So you obviously hear this gunshot, and you probably duck your head down because you're not sure if it's coming your way, and then you realise that it didn't pass by. You don't hear it whistle by.
I think I like the opening gunshot, which was from I could tell positionally that it was from the dock because I think I saw him as I was going over, and like in his head, Three Finger Pete's like, wow, this doc's great. Like we didn't give him any kind of plan. And he's doing really good distraction work. So then like using that distraction because I can tell like Bob is probably not looking my way. I'm gonna use that opportunity to try and fire an arrow at him.
Okay. So what does your bow require in terms of skills?
Well, it's ranged, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a ranged item, so I'm going to use
Okay.
my ranged combat to add agility, if that's all right.
Yeah, roll for it.
So that is that's 18.
That is absolutely a hit. So that arrow sinks itself into Bob, He is a boss character, so he actually has 3 HP. So this has knocked off 1 HP from him, but he's got another 2. But because it's a success, did you roll a double by any chance?
I rolled 2 5s and a 4.
So that is a grand success.
Woo!
So when you succeed and you roll a double, it's what they call a grand success. It gives you an advantage, and it also means that you don't take damage. So even if you succeed normally in combat, if you don't roll a grand success, you still take a point of damage potentially, because you're out in the open, they're returning fire. So I'm going to say the advantage here is that you're able to fire this arrow. It strikes Bob kind of like in the arm, but not his pistol arm or rifle arm. So he kind of goes sideways, but drops his rifle. He was reloading anyway after taking the shot at the dock, but the rifle just clatters to the ground next to Lady May. But now he's got an arrow sticking out of his arm, and he's incredibly confused. There's cattle, there's doctors, there's arrows flying somewhere. So he's not sure if he's suddenly being attacked by a kind of third group between cougars and cattle and doctors. So, Lady May, it's now your turn. The dust is starting to clear a little bit.
So the cattle have run away.
Yes, you luckily emerge unscathed.
Okay.
A cattle passed very close, obviously knocking the other gang member off the horse. But you are able to avoid that, and you notice that gang member is just out cold next to you.
Okay.
Just, that's it.
So Bob has dropped his rifle.
Dropped his rifle next to you.
Next to me. Okay, can I grab the rifle and then like point it at him?
You can.
And she's gonna say, "Come on now, just give it up. Time to get rid of them funny ideas and accept that you've lost this one."
I mean, Bob, he doesn't really react to you because he's too busy being distracted by the fact he has an arrow sticking out of his arm.
Among other things.
Yeah.
So he just kind of gives you a very confused look, but he's in shock from being struck by this arrow. So you have this rifle trained on him, but he doesn't respond other than kind of mouth agape, utter confusion.
Can she reach over then and try and pull him off the horse?
Yeah, I think that's fair to do. So you're close enough where you can yank him off the horse. He's unable to really fight back because he's got an arrow in the arm. So you pull him off the horse. He falls to the ground in a cloud of dust, and he's just kind of babbling away from the shock of being hit by an arrow. You suspect that in maybe a minute or so, once he's recovered from the shock, he may be just as dangerous again.
Okay.
But for the moment, he is kind of at your mercy.
I would need an actual item to try and tie his hands together, wouldn't I?
You would. Can you roll? Do you have some kind of perception or an ability along
yes.
those lines? A skill along
I
those
have
lines?
perception.
Okay, could you roll perception for me, please? So add probably insight, if that's...
Yeah, it is insight. Okay, double 4, 2.
Double 4 and a 2. Okay, yeah, it's not a hard test at all.
Okay.
And you rolled a grand success. So you know that Bob was obviously riding a horse, and in the satchel on the horse, there will be some rope or similar material if you wish to tie him up.
Okay, yeah. She's gonna, she's gonna dig her hands into that satchel, pull up the rope, and I think she doesn't know how to hog. Actually, no, she does know how to hog tie. So yeah, she's gonna hog tie him.
Everyone, I think, out in the West knows how to hog tie.
It's on your 13th birthday they teach you if you live in the Wild
It's like
West.
Scouts.
Yeah.
Like you just learn how to do the hog tie. Yeah, she hog ties him, and then like kicks him. So obviously to hog tie him, you have to like have him face down.
Mm-hmm.
But then she like rolls him over with her foot, and then points her rifle in his face, and says, "Y'all better start talking, otherwise you're gonna have a face full of lead."
Where did the arrow come from? It's clear that he's completely distraught at this point. He's not going to be a threat. He's probably not going to be much help to you for the moment. So you realise that the best thing to do is probably to take him to the next town, because the train will need repairing, so it will stop in at the next town, and hand him into the sheriff and the marshal there.
Lady May is going to turn over, look over to the doctor. Actually, no, the doctor's in the carriage, isn't he?
I have poked my head out at this point, and I am waddling towards you already.
Waddling more so than usual because of the bullet.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
She's going to say to the doctor, this guy's going to hang on, isn't he? He's not going to suddenly drop dead here.
Can I check? I've got medicine as a skill.
I think you know that, you're a doctor. It's not nearly a fatal wound. It's only through the arm. It hurts a lot, but it's not going to be a fatal blow.
He's going to be fine. It's not fatal, don't worry. He'll be fine.
Okay. And she tries to, she pulls him over so she can, drag him up onto the train. And she's gonna look up on top of the carriage where Three Finger Pete is. And she's gonna say, "You're gonna help me with this one?"
You're gonna have to speak up. Sorry, ma'am, you're quite far away.
I said, "You're gonna help me with this one?" And she gestures at Bob.
I'll come over. Just sort of drop down off the carriage and onto the dirt.
So I think at this point, you've neutralised the robbers. The ones that got away, but you've got a couple. You've got the one who was knocked unconscious falling from the horse. You've got, obviously, Bob himself. The others, the vultures will pick them clean. But you take the unconscious two, and we will cut to the next town.
Hold on, before we do that. I am wounded. Can I do... I've got a skill that's called bandages. Can I try and, fix myself up?
Yes,
train?
So I believe there's a general kind of first aid thing here where your HP doesn't refill between encounters, but you can test against a high difficulty, but you can test to heal yourself one. So if you would like to roll with bandages or whatever seems applicable.
So bandages is a special skill, so it doesn't seem to have anything, but I've got medicine, so could I roll with... It says next to medicine, agility, wits, and insight. Does that mean I get to choose?
Yeah, you can choose which one you want to use.
Oh, well then I'll roll with agility.
What does the bandages skill say?
It says, first aid can be employed in the course of an adventure or during combat with success against difficulty level 11. See damage on... page, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so first aid is the skill that there are a couple of skills that give you first aid in general. So normally I think it's a 14 difficulty, but because you're a doctor, you're a little bit better at it. So if you roll against 11, please.
Okay.
With whichever ability you want to use.
That's 16.
Oh yeah, so easily. So you're a doctor, even having had a few drinks, it's easy enough to pluck out this particular bullet. It didn't sink too far. Is essentially, it was a clean pass through, but it's not hit any bone, it's not left any real damage, so you can just bandage yourself up and you can return to 3 hit points.
Maybe pour some toothy moonshine on it.
I was just gonna say, I think what he would have done is said to the people on the carriage, can somebody give me some alcohol for my wound? And he would have poured some and then drank some and then poured
one for you, one for me.
Yeah. Sorry, now we can go to town. I just wanted to get that sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're back up to 3 hit points now.
I had 6.
Oh, 6. Okay, sorry. I don't know where I got 3 from.
I've got 3. Maybe that one.
Okay, so we'll jump cut. So once the tree has been pushed out of the way of the train tracks, allowing the train to move on, the train itself was damaged, obviously, because it had to squeal to a halt. But you ride the train into the next closest town, which is Genoa. So the train obviously has to stop for a little while so that the engineers can work on it and get it back working again. You take your captured Blind Eye Brown and the other gang member to the local marshal, who is Stanley Hillbridge, who is delighted to see you. Obviously, Big Anne's gang has been a notorious threat around these parts for a while. So the fact that you've managed to kind of take down one of her kind of more senior, I don't know if they have management structures back in the Wild West and gangs, but a more senior employee of this gang you've managed to capture alive as well. So Stanley's like, That's fantastic. I'm so glad you brought him in alive. Now we get to hang him, and make sure that justice is done.
Wonderful stuff, yeah.
And Stanley says, if you I assume all three of you, you would have had to have carried these two gang members along. You were kind of the three that took them down, so you probably visit the marshal together to get your just rewards.
Yeah. Lady May is like holding out her hand, going, "That's justice. Justice is all well and good, but it doesn't pay for my outfits, now does it, Sheriff?"
Well, there's actually the budgets have been tight in the town recently. In fact, because all these trains keep getting robbed, our import-export business is shot to bits. In fact, like many of the those doing the importing and exporting, so we can only afford the reward on Big Ann herself. But lucky for you three, you're veteran gunslingers. I'm sure that bringing her to justice will be both morally rewarding as well as financially rewarding. But for Bar and I here, and he just kind of kicks him in the side, and he just goes, "Cattle, doctor."
Yes.
He gives Blind Eye gives you a very kind of frightened look. It's really got to him, the whole experience of cougars and whatnot. But the marshal hands you a wanted poster with Big Ann on, and the reward just says, "Upon completion, dead or alive." He says, "Well, we couldn't put a value on it because we weren't sure how much we'd be able to pull together at the time, but it'll be more than nothing. So if you wouldn't mind taking care of that problem, I'm sure the townsfolk would appreciate it." And he gives you he flips over the wanted poster, and on the back he just draws a very rough map of a local canyon. And it's clear that this is Big Ann's hideout. It's no secret that she's there. It's just that people are too afraid to actually deal with her directly.
The whole time he's been speaking, Lady May has just looked at him like this.
Do you want the reward or
unimpressed.
not?
Well, I was hoping to get a reward for these two, and she also gives them a nice kick. And she says, "But I suppose if your budget's so tight, you're gonna have to go after this Big Ann, and that payout better be good. Otherwise, you're gonna be regretting messing around with me."
It'll be good. It'll be good for the local economy. Everything in
I don't give two toots about the local economy. I care
nobody
about
else
this
does
economy.
either, I think.
Well, it's a paycheck, and she looks over at Three Finger Pete and says, "Y'all in this, or?"
If you don't mind my asking, how much is the reward, Sheriff?
He just holds up the poster and says, "Upon completion."
That's never a good sign.
Like I say, it's more than zero.
A lot of things are more than zero, Sheriff.
But
Apart
when
from my
you say
patience.
that it depends on how much money you have at the time. So how much money do you have now?
He pats his pockets. On me, he pulls out.
Not you
like
personally. Not you personally. The
well, that's me
the
personally. Is
police
about
department.
I don't know what a police department is.
Whatever.
In terms of the,
That's the right outlook.
the law, it's what I've got. I have to, we're a small town.
Well, how much do you have then? Come
Self-funded.
on.
He just pats his pockets and he pulls out like a very kind of crooked-looking cigar that's been chewed at one end, and has clearly been stubbed out plenty of times, as if someone's taken one puff and then stubbed it out quickly to
The idea that the wanted posters just say like "Wanted, Big Ann, reward, competitive."
dependent on experience. You can tell. You can tell that he means well, and he will give you all that he can once it's completed. He's like, I could, while you're off sorting the problem, I'll talk to the townsfolk. We've never, it's never been one of those things we've actually dreamt of happening. We'll pull together. There's
yes,
a
maybe
baker,
if you go
can
out
have
to
some
the
bread.
crowd, get some funding from the crowd, and then you can pay us with that.
Tell you what, Sheriff, how about you take this? And I like out of his backpack. I've like taxidermied a squirrel into some kind of bucket or something.
Into a bucket. Like it's the squirrel looking up and its mouth is open, and it's like a
And its arms like that.
That's really grim.
like a pen, like a pencil holder.
I'll just stretch out my neck and that. Oh, poor squirrel. Right.
But he holds out this wanted poster / map at you, kind of expectantly. You can see that he's someone who's desperate to solve this problem. The town's been really hard hit by this. Like I say, you've heard tales of Big Ann and the fact that the town has been so beset by these robberies, and it's just ruined the local market.
Well, there were certainly enough rich people on that train. She gestures over to the station. Maybe you could appeal to them. Certainly, as it seems, they were directly affected by this Big Ann fella.
You can find
character.
anything you keep at Big Ann's, hideaway. I'm sure she's got a lot of goods, watches and other such things.
And at this point, Lady May just grabs the wanted poster, stuffs it in the little container where her waist skirts are, and she says, I've had enough of messing around with you. And she looks at the other and says, shall we go?
Oh, anything you say, ma'am?
There's a good boy now. And she looks
As
over
you,
at the doctor. She looks over at the doctor and she says, you coming to help us, or...?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I feel like you might need some medical assistance along the way. Yeah, let's go.
He hands the poster. He's like, thank you so much. And you can see, because it's so dusty in Genoa and the surrounding area, most of the people are kind of like laid in an amount of dust just from it whipping through the town. And as you look at him, you can just see a couple of kind of wetter streaks. He's clearly very, very thankful.
Lady
It's like,
May
thank you.
just
And
looks
he... Sorry.
Like, she just looks at him like, right. And then just whips round and starts walking away.
He says, Daniel, take him by the stable. Give him the finest horses the town has, so they can get to the canyon.
Could we also maybe get some drinks for on the way? Do you think, or? If we're not going to get paid a lot, maybe we can at least have some whiskey or something.
Absolutely, Daniel, take him by the saloon first. Tell him I sent you. So yeah, on the way out of the town, you pass through kind of the shop where you're able to refill some of your ammunition if you needed to. Repair the clothes shop. I can't. For some reason, it completely went out of my mind what they were called.
Ye olde clothes shop.
Tailors.
Yeah, tailors. They
Patch
patch up any kind of threads that are loose on your clothes. It's a town that really wants to give you all it's got.
All of the threads in my clothes are loose.
And
all of your clothes are like all of a sudden really tight because of like...
you pass by the
Yeah.
saloon and they allow you to take any bottle off the shelf that you like. If when you take a swig, you realise that it's heavily watered down. Clearly, they are, they're making it go as far as they can, but they mean well. And then the
Lady May definitely takes her pick of a hat from the tailor shop.
all of the
a
hats.
new hat. Yeah.
all
It's
of the
not a
well,
millionaire.
I was going to say all of the hats are. There's nothing really new because the import, export, like things coming into the town are struck by robbers all the time as the result of Big Ann. So all of the hats you look at have kind of scuffs on them or like slight splatter marks.
Oh no!
That's about as neat as they get. They've clearly been scrubbed as hard as they can, but some things just don't come out. And then you make your way to the stables to retrieve these horses, the town's finest. And you take 3 of the 4 horses they have, and they're all quite tired looking. But they'll do the job. They'll get you there, but they might not get you back. You suspect.
Oh God! They're just gonna die, like.
They're giving you all they can. So you ride out of town and you ride towards the canyon where Big Ann resides. And as you draw close, it kind of rises out of the dusty plains. And it's kind of a circular canyon with a single entranceway. It's far too high and the cliffs are far too steep to descend on any other side. So you know that you'll have to come through kind of the opening. But as it happens, it's not actually that heavily defended, you suspect. Partly because the gang is always going out robbing trains, and partly because it's built up such notoriety that at this point they don't need to defend it because no one dares come close. So as you draw close, you're able to essentially just ride straight in, and a mile
My
or so.
horse has got hips don't lie.
A mile or so down the canyon, you come upon some wooden cabins, and this is where it's clear instantly that this is where the gang hangs out. And you tie up your horses at the side, because even though there's no one looking out at the moment, it's clear that if you keep going, eventually someone's just going to take a shot at you.
Yeah. No, is it like the case of we need to tie the horses up because they're like bicycles, and if you just leave it somewhere, you'll come back and it's just gone?
So
One of its legs, it's gone.
Yeah, I was about to say all the legs are off and they're just on cinder blocks.
Not quite, but your horses are starting to, they're starting to sound a bit husky in the.
Oh God, they're going into that dark night. This is terrible.
Oh, no.
Our horses are slowly.
So, but luckily there is a trough of water for the gang's horses, so you're able to just slip them among the rest of the horses that are there, and tie them up and sneak off. So, could someone? Could all 3 of you please roll perception or a similar skill that has insight?
Oh, I rolled double 5.
What, can I roll insight?
If you have a skill with insight.
No.
I have perception.
I have humanities.
17.
I rolled double 5, 12 plus 3. That's 15.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't take a lot because, again, they're not making big efforts to hide themselves. They just feel that they're impenetrable. So as you take cover behind one of the wooden cabins, you look out and you see about, let's say, 8 gang members, but among them is someone who's kind of heavily battle-scarred, has kind of a mark across one cheek where a bullet has grazed. And this, from having seen wanted posters and having heard rumours, this is Old Jack, Big Ann's kind of right-hand man. And he's a nasty kind of... He's notorious for leaving no one alive during robberies. And as you kind of sit there, Old Jack is laughing and drinking around a fire with a handful of kind of hench people, gang members. And then as they're there, you just hear a door slam and you hear, "What are you laughing about?" And out steps Big Ann herself.
Whoa!
Who is kind of just dressed in clothes that look like they've almost been baked onto her by the heat. But you can also tell that there have been they've been splashed numerous times with blood, and so while they may have started as kind of woven textiles, they now resemble something closer to leather just from the amount of blood that's been splashed on them. And she's a force to be reckoned with.
I got an outfit like that myself.
And that's again, that's made clear as she walks out, and they all hush. And that's it. She turns around and she re-enters the cavern from when she came, having just come out to quiet them down, and they all start to speak in hushed whispers, and their laughs aren't quite as loud anymore.
Sorry, just quickly, where are we exactly in...
So there's kind of a ring of cabins around this campfire. So where you've tied up your horses, you are currently behind one of them.
Right.
So almost like a ring, and then the campfire in the middle. Anne came out of the furthest cabin, obviously straight ahead, because that's kind of the prime position, and you are currently at the further edge, trying to work out how to approach this. So looking at this gang, you can tell that, you know, most of them aren't equipped with pistols and rifles. They're just armed with small knives. You know, they're cutting open cans of beans, stabbing into them and drinking straight out of the hole.
Definitely.
You suspect that although the gang is, you know, fit with riches from various train robberies, all of the pistols and rifles are often taken out to rob trains with, because pistols and rifles are often expensive. So they're going to use them where they count and people don't come near. So old Jack, you can see, has kind of a pistol stuffed in the top of his trousers. And Anne, when she stepped out, didn't have anything, but you suspect that there may be something inside that cabin that's worth reckoning with. But the rest of the gang members are largely just armed with short knives.
I think maybe we're sort of like we're all hunched together, kind of like just like on lookout, kind of assess the situation. Maybe we look at the wanted posters and like reference them with the guy and like, oh, okay, this is old Jack kind of thing. And then Pete is just like, gosh, Big Al, old Jack, I sure wish I had a monosyllabic epithet.
Yeah, don't we all?
IRL, I have a friend who calls me Big Al, just as a fun fact.
Good to know.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah, excellent stuff.
Way to jump.
Lady May is gonna look to the others and goes, how do we want to approach this exactly? They don't look hugely armed, but I suspect that big man is a force to be reckoned with. What do you say to some sort of distraction, or at least a way to find some more information?
I pull out a gas vial from my pocket and go, well, I can take out 3 of these henchmen with one of these, potentially.
How many
8.
henchmen? There's 8 of them. Okay.
Well, there's 8 of them. Oh, I missed that bit.
That's a lot. She says, well, I think we have to get the timing right for this. We can't take all of them on at once. Even if you get rid of 3 of them, there's still 5 of them left, not counting Big Al as well. What if we were to set up some sort of scenario where you two can get a good look from either end, while I try to keep them busy?
Well, as far as I can see, there's only one that has a gun on his hip. Perhaps we could take him out as priority, and then we've got the advantage. See.
I mean, this is the way I see it, okay? I mean, I'm not a fighter. I am a doctor. And I think it would make more sense for me to be the distraction and for you to do the fighting.
Dr. Unk, you was mighty good at distracting last time, I must say.
I mean, I don't really remember a lot of what happened earlier, but thank you. Thank you.
Well, you can certainly find the right time to use that there flask of yours. She gestures to what you showed us. She says, okay, if you think you can gather your attention, myself and old Freefinger over here can find ideal spots to try and take out as many of them as possible. We are outnumbered, but if we catch them with the element of surprise, maybe we can do something with that.
Maybe if we sort of circumnavigate behind the cabins, we can both get onto a roof opposite side of them. and then we've just like got them in a little sort of
Yeah.
crossfire trap.
And I will just go ahead and have a chat with them.
We are responsible for what might happen. If
Yeah,
that's the case. But
I mean, I am a grown man. I know the risks I'm taking here. And that's
You
fine.
certainly is grown, Dr. Ock.
Okay, so
Dr. Octopus.
are you making your way around the cabins?
Yeah, I think
Freefinger
one of us is
and-
going to go one way and another of us is going to go another, so we can crossfire them.
I'll go
Okay,
right, you
so-
go left.
Yeah. No. I go right. You
No,
go
no,
left.
I go right, you go left.
Do you even know what right and left are? 3 finger feet.
Yeah, that one's right and that one's left.
So whoever goes to the right, as you make your way around the cabins, you notice a crane in the corner of the canyon, and you realise as you come round that this is actually a former mining kind of settlement. You can see where there used to be a mine in the furthest end of the canyon, but it looks like it was collapsed some time ago, potentially by the gang themselves to stop anyone coming here. But the crane remains, and the crane has kind of its rope holding up a platform, and on the platform are several barrels and boxes. You don't know what are in them, but the rope looks like it could be potentially cut. It kind of runs down the crane to the bottom to a crank handle. And if you were to slice the rope, it would almost certainly fall. Whereas the person going the other way, you don't discover much. There are kind of scattered barrels and boxes around, but it's a lot more empty that side.
I believe I was going left. Is that correct?
No, I said I was going right and then I headed left.
Okay, right. So I'm going right then. So Lady May sees this.
Okay. You suspect you could also climb it if you wanted to, but that would obviously require quite the athletic feat, and it's quite high up. It would give you an advantage, but you would also be easier to be seen.
She suspects. She doesn't know exactly what's in there. Where is the crane directly over exactly?
So it's in the corner of the canyon, so it's behind the cabins, which is why you didn't see it before.
Okay.
So it's not above the cabin, it's just kind of above empty space, but you suspect that if you were to lead them round the back of the cabin, it's close enough where you could potentially get the drop on them.
Okay. Learning this information. Presumably at this point, the Doctor has begun to stroll towards these gang people.
Oh yeah, so I'm just like walking, like strolling / waddling towards them, and I don't want to take them by surprise. So when I kind of come out of the shadows, is there shadows? I don't know. I'd like to be like, oh, hello, gentlemen. Good evening.
So where their fields of vision were initially kind of crossing over the campfire because they were all seated around it, as soon as you speak, their fields of vision immediately lock onto you, and old Jack particularly just goes straight for the revolver.
Gosh.
Doesn't shoot, but pulls it and points at you and is like, "Who the hell are you? And what are you doing here? Have you not heard of our Big Ann's gang?"
Big who? Big what? Sorry? Sorry, I'm not from around here. My name is Dr. Herman Dickery. I've just
I don't
arrived...
care who the hell you are.
What, you just, oh, okay. I'm sorry, I was just going for an evening stroll, and I came across you,
Wow.
yourself. Sorry, I did not mean to offend you in any way. I can leave. That's...
I would suggest that you take a stroll back where you came from, Doctor. And then
okay.
old Jack gestures to kind of free of the gang and just kind of flicks the barrel of the gun as if to say, get him out of here. And so they make a move towards you. They only have knives, but obviously they were free of them. So they kind of take you roughly by the shoulders, spin you round, and start to march you back down the canyon.
So exactly where are they marching the Doctor?
Back out of the canyon the way you came in.
The way we came in, okay.
So away
You get
from
the
us
sense,
then, if we're getting
Doctor,
around.
that if you try anything funny, they will not hesitate to stick you.
Okay, so Presumably we both see this happening?
Yeah, so if you've clambered up onto the roof at this point, or even between the cabins, the Doctor is not subtle, so you can hear this taking place as well.
I don't
It's
think
echoing around the canyon.
Lady May is going to be on the rooftops yet. I think she's just... I think she wants to try and gauge a situation where she can convince the remaining members of the gang, or at least some of them, to come and follow her towards where this potential trap is. So she sees the Doctor being led out, but the Doctor's being led away from the camp.
Yes.
Okay, so she's just gonna hope that Three Finger Pete is gonna have a good idea of maybe what to do, and she's gonna walk out to the remaining members of the gang, and she is going to just trying to think of what kind of scenario she can get away with doing this with, because I've got two potential avenues of excuse for being here. No, she's gonna walk out, and she's gonna say, now here, there's some people who might want to try a little bit of gambling. She looks like... and she pulls out a set of cards, and holds up her hand and says, there ain't no better gamblers this side of the West than gang members of Big Ann's gang.
So you've walked straight up to the...
Yeah,
The thing
to the yeah.
Jack's just like...
It's one of those double distractions.
Can she use, like, empathy?
Well, I think in this case, they're just... Because you're trying to convince them, but they are a gang in their hideout.
Yeah.
You are a complete stranger.
I'm aware of this.
The
So I think
second
it would-
complete stranger in the
Yeah.
last
the
5
second
minutes.
So
complete
Jack's just like,
stranger.
what the hell's going on? Is some...
I think she
What,
doesn't...
Is this some kind of joke?
I think she doesn't want to walk out too far towards it. She wants to be further back towards the cabin.
Like, so it's kind of to the side of a cabin, perhaps.
Yeah, but she's like trying to like convince them that I'm just a gambler. I just heard about your gang here. Heard about your abilities with gambling, and I wondered whether you'd be up for a game. No jokes, no tricks. Just I've got a gambling table here and a bit of booze, and I wondered whether you want to join me. Can't be that interesting sitting out here not doing an awful lot. Can she use like empathy or something, or are they too like what the fuck?
Wow, that's it.
I think they would probably be like, this is their... You say you have a gambling table, but obviously
Yeah.
it's their camp.
Yeah.
Like, they know exactly what's around. So old
No, but
Jack's
she
just
could
having
have bought it with her.
like a folding picnic table.
Yeah.
I think in this case they're not convinced. Like, you're a complete stranger.
So I
You've wandered
can't
into
even.
their camp.
I can't even try and convince them.
So, I mean, you can roll for it. Excuse me. You can roll for it, but it's going to require something really special to convince this group of hardened train robbers that you are just here to gamble and to play cards with them, and
that's
you've
why
come
you
all the way
came
to
out
their
of the
hideout.
shadows already in their hideout.
Yeah. Oh, that's not gonna do it. I rolled a double 2.
Okay.
And
Roll. Well, it's not a success, so you wouldn't get a grand success anyway. What did you get in total? But I suspect from the double 2.
10.
That's not going to do it.
Oh,
Old Jack's just like, has someone decided that we're some kind of like community center?
can Lady May just start running
Where?
back
Wow.
towards where the barrels are?
Okay.
Seeing that they're not gonna buy it, she's gonna run back towards where the barrels are.
Okay. I think. Give me a roll for some. Have you got some kind of agility skill?
No?
Okay, just roll 3d6.
Okay. Hang on, let me just check something. Okay. I don't know whether this is going to work because we're not exactly in a combat situation quite yet. But she's got a special skill called Beguiling Perfume, which she can use to dazzle opponents, which results in them being unable to damage.
Are you going to dazzle them with the smell of your perfume as you run away from them?
Or it's up to you. I can just if you think it's not quite in the right context.
Well, they're not really close enough to you yet. You'd have to throw this perfume a good long way. And
I don't know whether she throws the perfume or whether she's wearing the perfume.
Okay, well, if in that case they need to have incredibly keen noses to smell you from like 30 feet away.
Oh, I rolled double 6.
Okay.
Out of 5.
Okay, that'll do it. That's almost, that's almost triple sixes. But okay, roll 1d6, please. So when you get a grand success, normally you then make another die roll and you get an affect.
I rolled 2.
Okay, so that's a deterrent. Remove one opponent marker from tactical combat. It may be brought in again by the Games Master at a later point. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that... So there were 4 gang members and Old Jack sitting around the campfire. So Old Jack, as you run, he goes to fire and then you disappear quick enough where he just shrugs. And he just gestures with his gun barrel again to have 3 of the remaining 4 gang members come after you.
Okay.
And he says something to the 4th gang member and they walk into Big Anne's cabin. So they, for the moment, have disappeared.
Okay, so those 3 gang members are currently going after me.
Yes, they are. They're coming after you, you assume. You see them start towards you.
There they are, in their police car.
I think Lady May is going to try and position her... So, this crane is currently over a dead space.
Yeah.
Like an empty space.
An empty space behind one of the cabins, yeah. The cabin that you just ran around.
So, can she maneuver herself so she is, like, right next to the crane so she can cut the rope?
I would say so, yeah. So I think there's a way you could stand within arm's reach, or at least to lunge and cut the rope, but have them come towards you. So they obviously don't perceive you as a threat. You don't have your rifle out or anything like that. They just think that they're going to escort you out of the area.
Okay.
So I think as they approach, you would be able to...
Yeah, can she also use conceal to, like, conceal her knife? She can wait until they get to the right, like, position.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. So they don't judge any threat, so they walk towards you.
Yeah, so conceal is like an actual skill I have. So do you want me to roll to do this?
I think, yeah, you know what? Roll for it. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Conceal uses agility. 4. Okay. Hang on. 13?
Okay, that's more than enough, because at this point, again, there's no reason why they would suspect you're a threat. You haven't pulled any weapons. They're very confused as to why you turned up out of nowhere gesturing cards at them and offering to gamble with them, but they think that maybe you're just a waylaid traveller.
Okay.
Similar to the Doctor, maybe you're companions, maybe you're here to gamble or to con them. They get the occasional hopeful that wants to join the gang, so it might be that you're just trying your luck. But they don't suspect anything and they don't see the knife.
So I want to wait until they're underneath the platform and then whip out the knife and cut the rope.
Okay, can you roll, please, for, let's say agility in this case, because you're kind of lunging forward very quick as they step under the crane.
Okay, not great. There's a double 1. Okay.
So there is
8.
Okay, that will actually do it. It's worth saying that there is Strength of Nerve, which you all have, which is a pool of points, and you can spend one of your Strength of Nerve points to re-roll any die. So
Okay.
you and they refill at the end of combat, total combat encounters. So you can always use them to re-roll if you want. But actually, because they don't suspect a thing, a 10 is more than enough in this case. And because you've rolled a double 1, could you roll a d6, please, for your grand success advantage?
6.
6. Okay, so this is 3 in one sweep. Your attack neutralizes 3 henchmen at once, which is actually perfect for this particular crane. Look at how well this worked out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they step onto the crane, and before they have a chance to even go, why do you have a knife? You jump forward, slash straight through the rope, and the platform and all the barrels and crates on top of it come steaming down from the heavens.
Oh gosh.
And you know, looking at the barrels, you might not think that they're particularly heavy. But as they crash into the floor, you realise that they were full of like rocks and whatnot removed from the mine. So these 3 henchpeople just disappear.
Wow.
And basically just they're gone. There's no trace of them. It's completely flat to the floor, and there are no more henchpeople. But it makes an almighty crash, as you'd expect, from a platform full of rocks and then 3 people underneath it. They don't get to shout out; they are just gone.
But there is a big crash.
There's a massive bang.
Okay.
So at this point, old Jack gets up. He is facing, his field of vision is towards the cabin you are behind, Lady May.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to... So, in the meantime, I've been putting myself in my position on the roof. As soon as Jack gets up and they both start looking towards the crash, I'm going to stick an arrow in his back.
Okay.
Hopefully quietly enough that the person in front of him doesn't really notice, so that I've got a chance to maybe get him as well.
There's no person in front of him anymore, so the one remaining gang member that was with them. So there's the 3 with the doctor escorting the doctor around
you
the
went
canyon.
into Big Anne's, right?
There's the 3
okay.
that were just decimated by a crane, and there was one that went back into the cabin. So
Cool.
there's only old Jack for the
I'm
moment.
going to stick old Jack.
Okay. Would you roll, please, for agility?
That is 14. 1, 4, and a 5.
14. That is... what were the results, sorry?
No doubles.
Okay. So, yeah, absolutely, you stick old Jack with an arrow. And he takes it, it kind of hits him in the ankle, because you're obviously quite high up, so it drops off a little bit. But he stumbles forward and is very confused, as you would be, because there was a large crash and then he got stuck in the foot with an arrow. But he stumbles, he's shaken, but he immediately whirls around with his pistol and looses a shot at you. So if you could lose a HP, please.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'll use these as my health, and I will take one off. I've got 2 now.
Okay.
2 hit
So,
points.
while that's happening, Doctor, you're being escorted out of the canyon at this point. When this crash occurs because of the crane, all 3 of the hench people with you, so 2 either side of you, 1 of you behind you, kind of brandishing a knife, they're all armed with knives. All 3 of them whirl around at this crash, so they are facing away from you for just a moment.
I'd like to get my vial out of my pocket and, like, I guess, do you smash it on the floor? Is that how you use it? I don't know. I'm going to do that.
Which vial is this? What's the description of it, please?
It's called gas vial. So in
Okay.
lieu of an attack, it says in tactical combat, I can use a gas vial that contains a strong sleeping gas. Works exactly like an attack, but opponent only causes damage if I roll a failure, and on a success, I neutralize 3 henchmen at once.
Oh, wow, okay. Excellent. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Roll for it. So it should say on it what you roll for.
I didn't write it down, but let me just have a quick look. Oh.
If not, you know what? I'll say that this is... what's higher for you, wits or agility?
Agility.
Okay, roll for agility. So I think in this case, because you're throwing it at the floor, that's fine, but you're going to need to jump backwards because otherwise you're going to be caught in the gas cloud. You've only got a moment to do it. And so, yeah, I think at this point you're trying to throw this at the ground and also jump backwards so that you're not also put to sleep.
Imagine the doctor just falling down and go.
Cyclical.
That's 17.
Oh,
Wow.
That absolutely does it. Did you get any doubles?
No, it was a 6, 2, 3, and then my agility is 6.
Wow, okay, yeah, you do this. So would you like to describe exactly what you do, but you succeed in whatever you're trying to do here to take the 3 hench people out?
Well, I just grab it, smash it on the floor, and then I kind of, just take a couple of steps back. It's not very fancy what I do. It's just what happens.
Just calmly walking away. So, yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. You know, you know how this gas works, so you're able to step away knowing that you're not going to breathe it in. It takes a moment to rise, so they hear the crane smash down, then they hear a smaller crash just behind them, and they start to whirl around with their knives, only to see you stepping back calmly. And as one of them takes a step forward with a knife and goes, "What are you?" and just drops straight onto the floor, and the 3 of them are just out for the count on the dust.
Cool. I was going to say I tie them up, but I don't have any rope, so I don't do that.
Okay, so you're clear. So jumping back to old Jack.
Oh, I would like to waddle over towards where the big crane noise came from, by the way, just to...
Okay, sure. So you're waddling behind the cabins to find the crane?
Yeah.
Okay. So while you're doing that, old Jack obviously has loosed a shot at Three Finger Pete, and now we are in tactical combat again. So old Jack is facing towards you, but because you're already in the field of vision, you won't suffer an automatic failure for moving. So you can move, but at the end of the round, if he's still standing, he will shoot you and you will lose HP.
Is there a way for me to shoot without losing my cover, or am I going to have to basically take a hit to do damage to him?
So typically when you step out of cover, you will take damage. You can do the concerted attack, so if all 3 of you act at once, it's simultaneous, and as long as there's no one left standing, no damage will be dealt.
Yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would think that Lady May would move to attack as well at this point.
So you,
having
as
taken out these 3 people.
Absolutely. So as you step out from behind the cabin, or at least poke your head around, because you don't necessarily know that old Jack has whirled around, you see the back of old Jack looking toward the rooftop where you know that Three Finger Pete was.
Yeah.
And you can probably see part of Pete sticking out, maybe the tip of the bow.
Pete like literally about to pull another arrow.
Lady May is gonna draw Mrs. Nesbit,
Right.
and like fire on the old Jack.
Okay, so if this is a concerted attack, all 3 of you get to act at once. So you will all describe what you're doing, then you'll all roll, and then you will see how many successes and failures count up. So So you're drawing and firing at old Jack. Three Finger Pete, what are you doing?
I'm drawing and firing at old Jack.
And Doctor, you can probably see this taking place through the gap in 2 of the cabins. So if you wanted to act, you could do so.
I think I see my 2 companions like drawing ready to fire, and I'm going to shout out, trying to distract him and get his attention.
Okay, so that will be if you've got some kind of distract or wits or some kind of roll along those lines, Doctor.
Humanities.
And then the other 2 of you.
Have you heard of this scientist?
You are literally everyone who's ever done a history degree, just like. Will it be useful? Probably not. No.
Lady May has ranged combat.
So you'll be rolling on ranged combat.
She's rolling wits.
Actually, I have science. I'm wondering if I could do something that, like, maybe could I throw something in the fire to distract him? But then I don't.
Yeah. Okay. If you can.
Have you heard of the water cycle?
Have you heard of the high elves?
I tell you what. If you agree to this, Doctor. So you obviously had a sleeping vial in your satchel. Mm-hmm. You've got the alcohol from the town. Mm-hmm. So if you were to use science, you would realise that particular alcohol is incredibly flammable. and creates quite a bright flash as it hits the fire. So if you wanted to roll for science, you could do something along those lines, or you're welcome to do what you want.
Yeah, but then he has to get rid of his beloved alcohol.
Yeah.
I can see this is a moral choice.
Unless you can justify a different liquid that you have in your satchel that has a similar effect.
Yeah, this is Sophie's choice, really.
It is. No, I'm just gonna do the shouting thing. He's not gonna waste alcohol. He's just not. He's not gonna do that. As much as I'd like to do something cool, he's just not gonna do that. So I'm just gonna do the old yoo-hoo.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, but I turned around and your friends were gone all of a sudden, so
It's like mid-combat. He's like, I don't care!
Okay, so 3 Finger Pete, you're drawing on probably agility, something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to use my ranged combat again with agility.
Yeah, I think Lady May, wits is fine, because at this point you're not trying to draw quickly, you're just trying to aim sensibly. And then Doctor, you're just rolling 3d6 because you can't use humanities unless you want to shout some quotes.
I've got literally the exact same roll as last time. A 1, a 4, and a 5. Plus 4 is 14.
That will do it. Okay, so that's another HP. So he's stuck with an arrow. Lady May, do you hit?
I rolled double 3.
Okay.
I think together that's 11.
Okay, that won't do it unless you want to spend your strength of nerve
I
to
will.
reroll.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and re-roll this one.
So you can choose to spend multiple strength of nerve points to reroll multiple dice, but they cost 1 point each.
I'm just gonna re-roll the 1, I think.
Keep your crit as well,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Yep. Oh,
when
great.
does our dueling score come into play?
During duels.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I got a rubbish result. Can I spend another one to re-roll?
If you want to, yeah.
I'm gonna do that. Got 1 left. Okay, come on. That's slightly better.
Does it?
Okay.
Do you have 14?
Yes, I do. Exactly.
That'll do it.
The
Okay.
double 3.
And Doc, what did you get?
I got a 12.
Okay, sure. That will do it. Because to be honest, the other 2 have him anyway. So as you shout out, Doc, what do you shout?
Oh, it was
Just
that
yoo-hoo.
thing that I just said, like, yoo-hoo, your friend, I turned around and your friends were gone, so I thought I'd come back and
Right.
see
So as you
what's
shout
going
that out, old Jack is just thoroughly confused because there's been a crash. Now there's the doctor who he just sent away with 3 of his hench people is returning. So he's surprised to hear you at the very least. So he whirls around, and at that point, simultaneously, he's struck by both a bullet and an arrow, to the point where one kind of strikes him a second before the other because the bullet travels slightly faster. So he almost rocks one way, and then the arrow strikes the other way. So for a second, he's left standing still, and then he just drops.
Nice.
At this point, Big Ann, having heard this commotion, erupts from the cabin. It's just like, what is going on here? And just sees the mess that's been made, sees the doc and is like, who the hell are you?
Oh, my name is Dr. Herman Dickery.
Wow.
Looks at old Jack, who has been struck by 2 arrows and a bullet, and is no longer with us.
Can I use quickly? I've got this disguise ability that allows me. No, listen, don't laugh. It allows me to walk through an opponent's field of vision without taking damage.
Okay.
So Lady May wants to try and run past Big Ann's vision and try circle round behind her so she can get the jump on her behind her so she can be surrounded by them.
Who would you be disguising yourself as? Or what? To not rule out
I am a
anything.
tree.
Yeah.
Just a moving cabin.
Some kind of shrub.
Tumbleweed.
Roll.
let's say like she's chained into one of the outfits of the gang members, and she's like running. Actually, no. You know what? I don't, because the thing is, the text of the skill, as opposed to the reality of the situation, is like if she were to dress as a gang member and like run past her, that would be very weird anyway. So
Yeah.
she's gonna dress as a gang member and like come out from behind the cabin.
Okay.
Uh,
I think that's fine. You can wear one of the uniforms. Maybe you pick it out of the
What's left?
the mess of the crates
yeah,
and
she's
so
not
on.
happy about
Nice
It's-
goofy
wearing it.
uniform.
Like an extreme trouser press.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also it feels disgustingly kind of damp. But it's a darker blue than it originally was. So yeah, you can step out. That's fine. And she just asked, "What the hell's going on? What happened to old Jack?"
She's gonna say, Big Ann, we were ambushed. I think they ran over there, and she's gonna point to the cabin that she came from. And she's gonna say, I think they're hiding in there.
Okay, roll persuasion for me.
She has empathy, so
Yeah, that'll do.
okay, that's not bad.
Big Ann, I can see you're upset. I understand.
I'm
feel-
also upset.
I feel you.
I've been there.
Okay, 9, 12. Okay, that's 15.
Okay, it's a good roll, but it's not enough. She is not
Okay.
convinced because
Right.
she has just literally come from that cabin.
No, what? The one that I'm
Oh.
pointing to the one that I came from.
Oh,
Like
I see.
from
Sorry.
behind, not from the one she came out of.
Okay, she still doesn't move
Okay.
because she's like, why haven't you dealt with them already? Where are they?
There's like 3 of them in there. I'm on my own.
She says, Jeffrey, and the guy that disappeared earlier runs out, and she says, actually, I'm gonna make a roll very quickly because he has seen you,
Okay.
non-disguise.
Right.
So he comes out, and obviously you're dressed differently, but he's gonna, you know what? He doesn't notice. He's
Okay.
like, he's very, he's seen you before, but he can't quite place where. So he just assumes at some point that you're part of the gang. Maybe you're a different chapter of the gang. You don't see each other that often. Only like the kind
Yeah,
of
we're in a
annual
different
get-togethers.
departments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen you around. So Jeffrey is going to follow you wherever you lead now.
Okay.
Because Big An's like, go deal with it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna lead Jeffrey into the cabin.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna. Apologies. I'm gonna be like, yeah, they were in here, and then does he like? Actually, no. I'm gonna let him walk into the cabin first, if that's possible, and then
Well-
like go behind him.
Sure. Okay. He's like, where are they?
I'm gonna pull a hairpin out of my hair, which is very sharp, and I'm
Okay.
gonna stab it into his neck.
Okay.
I don't have melee, so
You don't have melee.
No.
Do you have any kind of like wits or agility skill that might apply here?
I really don't think so. Other than like the fact that it's concealed in my hair.
Yeah. Roll for.
But it won't affect
conceal.
the ability
Oh, it's
of
an
the
ability,
stabbing.
isn't it? Okay, just roll 3d6.
Ooh, double 6 and a 5.
That is more than enough. You, what do you do to this poor Jeffrey?
Yeah, say, I swear they were in here, and then I pull the hairpin out of my hair, Lady May, and then she's gonna like just stab it into the side of his neck, right into his jugular, and then it's like
Oh.
a spray, like
he's like, oh, just that's it. Jeffrey's out of action.
Jeffrey is no more.
Yeah. Back outside, Doctor and Free Finger Pete. Big Ann hasn't seen you yet, Pete. She's seen the Doctor and is just kind of confused and is like, is this your work?
Me? Oh no! I came from back here. I don't know what happened. I just arrived. I've been going for an evening walk, and I don't know. This is your camp, I presume. I guess. I don't know. Do you have any enemies, maybe, who are trying to hurt you and your friends?
Can you roll 3d6, please, Doc? If you've got some kind of persuasion thing out of that.
Humanities.
No.
13.
I get out my degree.
Yeah, you know what? 13 will do it. She's just like, who are you? But she doesn't immediately draw and fire on you. You can tell she's got like a shotgun slung over one arm, and she's holding another shotgun.
Oh my goodness!
Just to save the trouble of reloading, you suspect.
Like pirates with the multiple guns.
Yeah, exactly. There are like at least 2 pistols stuffed in her belt, in holsters, and then you can see a particularly nasty kind of cleaver almost tucked in between them. So she's clearly kitted out.
Okay, I'd like to be like, I mean, I am a doctor. I can see if there's anything I can do, but he looks pretty dead to me.
I'm not a doctor, and I can tell you, they are not getting back up.
I mean, in that case, would you like to sit down and have a drink with me? I'm looking for someone to. I'm new in this town, and I'd like to find some people to socialize with.
At this point, she just cocks the shotgun.
Oh goodness!
It's just like, I suggest you get out of here and you forget what you've seen.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just thank you anyway. Have a nice time. Bye. And I waddle away.
Bye.
Okay. Pete, what are you up to?
Come on, man.
What? What's the plan here?
I'm a distraction.
Right, but you're both distractions.
Well, no, I just killed that guy.
There's only Big Ann left. Big Ann doesn't know that the Jeffrey, A, was the only remaining gang member. B, is no longer around. Is no longer the remaining gang member.
I'm gonna sidle down the wall of the cabin into sort of like the gap between the 2 cabins, from the one that I was on and the one that was next to it. I'm gonna pop down another bear trap.
Bear trap.
I'm gonna make the skill is animal call, but I think I'll actually just make the call of what sounds like people.
Okay.
You know, I could probably do that with my own mouth.
Yeah, the most bloodthirsty of animals. Really.
No, actually, I go into my ring of whistles, and there's one that just looks like a panicked man, and I blow that, and it's just like, oh!
It's the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, it's the Wilhelm
whistle.
scream. And then I just sort of clamber back up onto the roof.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Roll 3d6, and if you have an applicable skill of distraction or something like that.
I have survival, which is a pretty, it's...
No, I think survival is more like endurance. It's not distraction or beguiling.
Bugger it. Let's go for it then. That's a 14 with no doubles.
Okay.
653.
Big Ann turns around, having heard this. Obviously, it's only Big Ann now left. And she walks towards... So where have you laid this trap exactly?
So, it's in the alleyway. So, you would have to go through between the 2 cabins to get behind them. So I've just laid it there, so hopefully she steps on it.
Yeah, so she hears this, and she's curious, at least, and starts walking towards it. And then... Yeah, she steps straight on the bear trap. But she doesn't flinch.
Oh.
It digs into her leg, but she just kind of looks down. It's like... Huh. And she just says, "If you want to face me, come out and face me like a man."
No, I don't think he really wants to be honest.
I think I just sort of peer up from over the roof and just go, well, I suppose that's not exactly how I was expecting that to go, no.
I imagine you're here to take me in, am I wrong?
Yeah, I believe that is why we're here, yes. I mean, yeah, you're surrounded.
You're not the first to try, but you're the first to get this far and this close. And if I'm gonna go in, you can bet damn well I'm gonna go down first. So she kind of puts the other shotgun over the other arm and pulls out the pistol and says, "Duel me."
I'm gonna have to borrow a pistol.
I'll wait.
At this point, Lady May is gonna kick the door down that she was in, the cabin, and then she's gonna go, she's gonna yell, "Here!" And she's gonna throw Mrs. Nesbit up at Three Finger Pete.
Rifle.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, Anne sees this, and at first, because you're dressed like a gang member, she's like, "Huh, some loyalty." And then sees you throw the rifle up to Pete. It's like, "If that's what you've got, that's what you've got. Let's do this." So are you clambering down, Pete?
Sure, why not?
Sure.
She challenged you.
Yeah.
Pete,
Yeah.
not me.
So, we're now going to duel,
Yeah.
you and I. So
You and
the way-
I.
I challenge you to a duel. So the way duels work in Desperados, the pen and paper role-playing game, is we each have a d6, and we choose a round between 1 and 6 to shoot on. So the longer you wait, for every round that passes without you shooting, you will gain a +1 to your shooting ability. So you are rolling against... You will roll against Big Anne's difficulty level, and I will roll against your dueling score, which is
14.
okay. So once one of us chooses to shoot, you roll 3d6, and you'll be trying to beat that score. So you'll be trying to beat 17, and I'll be trying to beat your dueling score.
Okay.
And so every round that passes, you get +1 to that score.
Do I get my ranged combat agility bonus, or is it just the plus?
I don't believe you do.
Yeah, 'cause
I
you
will
get
double check
your-
that very quickly.
You get your dueling bonus from your agility.
Okay.
So-
Oh,
I'd
right.
like
yeah, I
to-
get you.
The doctor, meanwhile, is coming back from behind the
gosh.
building because he likes a show. He likes to see a show. So.
Okay, so yeah, you roll. It's a ranged combat test, so you lower the difficulty for every thing that you wait. So I'm gonna say that it's a ranged combat test, so I would guess
Yeah,
you
I've
still
got
get the
ranged
same.
combat.
Yeah, you still get the same ability
Oh, but the difficulty goes down for every turn I wait. isn't
every
it?
round
Okay,
you wait.
Right, got it.
But obviously the risk is then I will shoot before you. So we both need to select a round to shoot on.
Okay. Do I know
secretly.
what her difficulty number is?
So Big Anne's difficulty is 17.
17. God.
Yay!
Okay. All right. I've picked a round.
I believe in you.
Okay, I've also picked a round.
So do I just sort of place that on a d6 somewhere so I know?
Yeah, so then we will go through. So, round 1, I am not shooting.
I am not shooting.
Round 2, I'm not shooting.
I'm not shooting.
Round 3, I'm not shooting.
I am shooting.
Okay, so you shoot first. So you now perform a ranged combat test.
Okay.
You're like Greedo.
So tell me what you're doing and then roll for it.
So it's actually 14 now because I took 3 off.
So you're shooting in round 3, right?
Yeah.
So it's lowered by 2 because you're shooting on the third round.
Right. So I'm looking for a 15. So yeah, I think so. We do the classic paces.
Well, she doesn't do any paces because she's caught in a bear trap.
No, okay, right. We're 10 paces away from each other, and we're
Dragging
like,
it along.
yeah, we're like hanging our hands over our guns like this. I'm thinking of like every like 1 penny story I've heard about duelists or something, and I'm just like waiting for the moment And it feels like an uncomfortable amount of time. And I'm like, I guess I go first because I don't really know how duels work. So I'm just like, all right then, and just pull it up and fire as soon as I can.
You're firing with Mrs. Nesbit, so you're pulling up the rifle
I think I've
and firing.
still got it in a holster. So it's like, all right, here we go.
Your arm has to be super hench to be able to fire a rifle with just one hand.
Okay, so I've rolled doubles.
Okay.
I've got 2 4s and a 5, which makes for 13. Plus my agility is 14. 17. So plus 4 is 17.
Okay.
With doubles.
And then plus the 2 anyway. So
Plus
yeah,
the 2,
you sink a shot in Big Ann. Where I'm gonna say you hit the other leg, in the knee, but again,
not in the knee.
she kind of like she would stumble if her leg wasn't caught in a bear trap, but she kind of bobs down for a second and then recovers and is fine. And then she looses a shot at you.
Oh my god.
So she's shooting on round 4. So what's your dueling score again, please?
My dueling score is 14.
You are very lucky. I got a 13 with the fruit
With the
plus
plus
3.
three.
Red
Yeah.
roll.
So her shot goes wide. I think maybe as she bobs, that's when she lets loose
Yeah.
with the pistol, and you hear it whiz by, and it kind
It's
of
like a small nick on my ear. Yeah.
it sinks into the canyon wall behind you, and you kind of hear the dust settle and kind of the rocks slide down from where it hits. But for now, both of you are still standing. So now we have another round of dueling. So we need to
Thrills.
pick which round we're shooting in.
I'm still standing.
Feeling like a little kid.
Okay. You picked a
Like
round?
a true survivor. Okay, I've picked a round.
Round 1, are you shooting?
No.
Round 2, are you shooting?
Yes.
So am I.
I knew it! I knew it!
So I think...
I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Oh, we both shoot simultaneously.
Oh my god. Oh, was it a roll-off then?
So both of us can technically hit.
Oh god, so I could die.
You
oh
could
no, I
die.
can't because I'm on 2 health. It's okay. 'Cause
Well,
I
you
forgot
say
one
that.
Missed. Oh
But
dear.
you could die because Big Ann has the skill Heavily Armed. In case of a failure or a success in combat, she causes 3 points of automatic damage rather than 1.
Whoa! Wheels!
Oh god.
Okay, so we're going to roll. We both get... So it cancels out with the... But oh no, we both get +1 because we're shooting in round 2.
Yes.
You're looking to beat 17, I'm looking to beat 14.
Oh! You've got your things as well, don't forget. Your,
Yeah. My rerolls.
Yeah.
Okay, so as it stands, before my rerolls, I've got 11. I've got 15
Okay.
Okay.
with a double, but that doesn't help, does it?
No.
Not in this
Okay,
case.
So I'm gonna spend. I can do them like I don't have to do them all at once, do I?
No.
No, you can you can reroll multiple dice if you want, but you can spend points as you see fit.
Yeah, I might as well just do it one by one. Okay, so I'm gonna spend. I've got 3 strength of nerve, so I'm gonna spend one of them to reroll one of the 3s, which is a 1. So I'll spend a second one, which is another 3. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll just have to hope this one goes well. And it's a 3. Really didn't want me to succeed, did it?
So you let off the rifle and it hits the bear trap, and there's a ping as it just bounces off the metal of the bear trap. At the same time, Anne fires, but the shot again just sinks into the ground at
Whoa!
my
She must be
God.
rolling bad.
your feet. I got a 10. Yeah, it's not high enough. So now we go for a third round of dueling.
Oh, Wheels!
All right.
Dr. Dickory's just sat on the sidelines going, "Oh, this is delightful."
Okay,
All right.
ready?
Yeah.
Round 1,
Not shooting.
round 2,
Not shooting.
round 3.
Shooting.
Okay, I picked 4, so I'm going around after you.
Come on. All right.
Oh, Wheels.
Well, I've got no strength of nerve, so I have to hit. Oh, God.
Oh dear.
I rolled a 12.
Okay, +2 is not enough.
Yeah.
So I shoot on round 4, so I've got +3.
God.
That's not going to do it. I rolled a 7, so nowhere
God.
near. All right,
Matt, you need to get some new dice.
not for you. Okay,
So we can't intervene in this duel. It just
not
happened.
in this case.
Okay. I've picked again.
You can. So to be clear, you can agree that this. You can stop dueling if the disagreement is settled. But in this case, Anne's going down one way or another.
Yeah, I don't think she's.
No,
she's all
she's-
that.
Stop.
She's going to
Yeah.
fight
She's
to
all
the death
ground.
here. Okay, round 1,
Not firing.
round 2,
Not firing.
3,
Not firing.
4,
Not firing.
5.
Firing.
Okay, I picked 6.
I knew
Whoa,
I
Matt
can read you
Jarvis!
like a book, Matt Jarvis.
Well, let's hope your shooting's better than your talking.
Whoa!
Okay, so this is -4 then.
Yeah,
So I need a 14.
you need a 13.
A 13.
Her difficulty's 17, so...
Okay.
Oh dear.
That's a 10. No, sorry, an 11. My bad.
Okay, so you get 15.
No, that was...
Oh,
was
it's an
with
11 with the-
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Right, I've got +5.
Oh, God.
Oh, no way.
Wow.
It's not enough.
Wow!
That's no
It's
way.
How are you
just
rolling
tough.
this bad?
I rolled an 8, and so even with the +5, it's 13, which isn't enough, right?
Oh, because you don't have the +4 I'm getting from my agility.
No.
Do you not have...
I've got
No, I just
14.
roll against your dueling skill.
My dueling skill is 14.
All right, let's go again.
Okay.
Wow.
The bullets at this point are just... You're not even... Neither
It's
of you
like
is hesitating.
the least
You're just
impressive
unloading.
duel you've ever seen. We're just like...
Yeah. Lady May's just standing there like...
you're like
her-
looking at your nails like,
Yeah,
what is
she's just
happening?
leaning against the wall of the cabin, just shaking her head.
Okay.
You
Yeah, I
suspect-
went from being very impressed to being like, and just like taking out. I still have that alcohol, so just like swigging some of that, waiting for it to get good.
But at
Yeah,
some point
good.
you suspect the revolver in Anne's hand is going to run out. And so she's getting more and more frustrated. And the veneer is kind of finally cracking. The bear trap didn't do it, the shot to the leg didn't do it. But the idea that she might run out of ammo and be unable to get any more
Okay.
is...
I don't know how much ammo's in Mrs. Nesbit, so...
All right.
Okay.
I've picked a round.
1,
Not shooting.
2,
Not shooting.
3,
Not shooting.
4.
Shooting.
Okay. Roll for
I
it.
can read you like a book. I've known every die I've picked so far.
You think I was going to go for 5?
Oh, that's better. That's an 18.
Oh, yeah. You've got it.
Oh.
Pre bonuses from rounds. That's two
So-
5s and a 4.
Finally, you land the shot.
Yeah. It's a lot more complicated than using a bow.
And as she kind of buckles over finally, Anne almost looks relieved at the fact this is finally over.
Sweet embrace of death.
And yeah, she buckles, and that's it. She goes over, but her leg is obviously stuck in the trap. So she kind of just
Caught in a
slumps.
trap.
Can walk out.
And with the whole of Anne's gang decimated, you're able to return to the town.
Can I first loot the cabin to see if there's any alcohol?
Oh, goodness.
Absolutely, yeah. There's plenty of alcohol.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Great.
Yeah,
You
that
also
moves
managed
in.
to retrieve your pocket watch that was taken from you on the train. You can obviously choose whether to keep the loot that belongs to other passengers and townsfolk, or whether you want to return it to them by
think-
turning it in.
Lady May is going to keep a bit of the richest pieces.
It's like,
Three
oh
Finger
yeah, we
Pete,
didn't find
yeah.
that bit.
Three Finger Pete has no concept of how money works.
By the way, do our horses make it back?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they've had a drink now. From the
Okay.
Turns
trough.
out they were just really thirsty.
There's more than enough food. Obviously, the gang is very well stocked, whereas the
Yeah,
town
give them some
wasn't.
beans.
So
that'll
yeah,
do it.
you're able to pick them up and make it all the way back to town. And the townsfolk are incredibly relieved. Obviously, you hand in the loot to them that you decided to turn over.
Yeah.
And the marshal's like, "Have you kept everything you wanted? Have you?" And is trying to put more into your hands because he's so
Oh
thankful
yeah,
that
Lady
you finally
May's
solved
going to
this
take
problem.
it. Yeah. The richest pieces, not like the just random
Yeah, you've
stuff.
got, some taste.
Yeah.
You just give back all the kind of doilies and...
Yeah, the handkerchiefs and all that stuff, yeah.
So, you turn that all in, and the townsfolk, they throw a meal for you. Obviously, things aren't restored straight away, so it's still quite a meagre meal. But they're kind of safe in the knowledge that the town will be able to reopen a little bit more, and they'll finally be able to get some things back in.
Is the meal like a turkey sat on top of a can of beans?
No, they don't have like a turkey. It's like a very small partridge.
I feel like Matt's trying to wrap up here, and you're really focusing in on some...
No, let's spend another hour having a buffet.
Hold on. I need a real good description of
tell you what,
hors d'oeuvres.
They serve up a roast bird, and you look at it, and the shape is familiar. And as you eat it, you realise it's a vulture. And they're unable to afford a turkey or a chicken, so they just make do with what they have. And obviously, there are plenty of vultures around. But yeah, you turn that in, and you're told that you're always welcome in that particular town. And once you've had your fill, and once you've taken the bits that you want, all three of you get back on the train, and you continue your journey towards Sacramento. And whatever adventure may await you next.
Goodness.
But
Are we stuck with that the whole time?
Yeah. But that is the Desperados pen and paper role-playing game.
Woo!
So it's free to download if you want to download it. It's on Drive-Thru RPG. It's obviously based on the video game, which I think is out on PC and Xbox and PS4. There's a free demo of that you can find. This video was sponsored by Desperados Free. But if you've enjoyed this video, there are plenty more like it on youtube.com/Dicebreaker, which is probably the channel you're watching right now. We've got RPGs, we've got board games, we've got advice on playing RPGs. We just finished our own Deadlands campaign, so if you're looking for more Wild West action and chaos, that is available now. Of course, there's our D&D series Dungeon Breaker, and if you're looking for coverage of the latest board games and role-playing games, there's dicebreaker.com for all your tabletop needs. But until we return...
Are you back on your horse, man?
Yeah, I am.
Until we return, thank you very much, Michael Whelan Wheels.
Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you, Alex Slowleys.
Thank you for having me. Yoo-hoo!
Thank you, Alex Meehan.
Yeehaw!
And I've been Matt Jarvis. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.